Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take, episode 228. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you this week?
I could be better, but we move. We're still,
Yeah, me
still
too,
kicking
man.
it.
I'm pretty, I don't know, pretty down about my job right now, so the
Everything okay?
yeah, it's
Right.
it's fine. I don't know. My job's annoying, but I also I don't know. I'm having like a imposter syndrome attack. I don't even know what to call it this week. So it's I'm doing all right. I'm trying to get through it. But doing this
Okay.
podcast is making me feel better already. So, it's it's like a therapy session every week for me.
Same.
All right. Well, Marshall, I don't know. You want to get into anything that's going on in your life, or you just want to get right into the meat potatoes?
I actually just want to get right. I have a lot to say and a lot of stuff surrounding this topic that we're about to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
All
let's
right.
just let's just get right into it.
Let's
Yeah.
fucking get ready to do it then. So, all right, let me do the rigmarole. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Moncho, let's get right into it. I have a little icebreaker for us. You sent this to the group chat this week and or over the weekend. I don't even know. There's ads out there for Diablo 4 coaching. And no, I'm not fucking with you guys. That is real. Go Google it right now. Pause the show. Go Google it and be astounded that there are services out there offering to coach you in playing Diablo 4. I mean,
Yes.
Montreal, are we at peak sweat yet?
No, this is peak. I don't think you can surpass this.
This
I
is
think
peak sweat.
this is peak sweat. Like I thought back when we were younger, it was peak sweat. Little did we know that was only the fucking beginning. Like that was
Tip
like
of
the tiny iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
This is peak. Yeah. Those who don't know who Diablo is, I mean, what Diablo is, it's pretty much a cooperative ARPG. There is PvP in Diablo 4. And you can have like different builds and stuff like that for the game. But me personally, and I don't know other people who play the game like specifically for PvP. So that the simple fact that there's a coaching for it is so fucking weird to me. It is so fucking.
I mean,
sweaty.
this is mostly a single player game. Like I would
Yes.
wager 80 to 90% of the player base is playing this game by themselves.
Exactly.
Like,
And
yeah.
and for those who are not familiar, coaching is like what it sounds like. You get coached on how to play the game better. But those are usually for competitive games, which
Yeah,
I
like
do
League
understand.
or Dota. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're trying to get better and you're actually trying to get on a team, because they can pay you a lot of money and stuff like that, especially if like younger. Coaching is essential. Or if you're trying to be like a really good streamer or something of that nature, and you're trying to just get really climb the ranks or whatever, coaching is essential for those type of things, and they can look at stuff and tell you what you're doing wrong and stuff like that. Because as you know, I mean, we discussed it plenty of times here. You can get stuck on autopilot in multiplayer games, especially if you're trying to climb. Like it's a
Right.
bad thing to go autopilot. So
Yeah.
coaching is there, but what I don't understand is why there's coaching for Diablo. That is super fucking
How to
sweaty.
loot faster? I don't like how to kill the mobs faster. I mean, like, bro, like we have strayed from God's grace. Like I believe we have fully jumped the shark as a society. We are coaching people on single player games now. And I don't know, I didn't really look into it deeply. Maybe it's for the PvP. Like even I like part of me hopes that's the case, but even if it is, it's fucking Diablo, dude. Like there's nothing competitive about Diablo PvP. I'm sorry. Like
I
no
was just gonna
offense to
say that.
hardcore Diablo PvPers out there, but this isn't League, this isn't Dota, this isn't even Apex. Like it's a fucking ARPG. Like I'm sure the balance in the PvP is absolute ass cheeks. Like what are we doing here, man? Like coaching?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. Like, it makes me sound like a boomer gamer or whatever,
Yeah.
but I just don't see why it exists for Diablo. Like that's like having coaching for, in my opinion, like Skyrim. Like why? Because you have different builds and everything in Skyrim as well. So it's like, do I need a coach for that? I can see a guide, but not a coach. Not a coach. Like, what do you need coaching for?
Right.
Or even, let's
Like
take it a
active
little bit
coaching.
step.
We're talking to, yeah, like I'm glad you brought up guides because that's a good point. Like this is distinction here, right? Guides exist for every game out there. Like literally
Yeah,
every fucking video game out there, right? Guides on how to do things. There's definitely guides for games on like how to like techniques and shit. Like I remember like Borderlands 2, right? Like that's kind of a similar scenario. There are guide videos for how to play that game well, because it does take skill. And I'm sure Diablo does to a degree as well, even though it's really not that difficult. Um, but like we're talking coaching, active, like somebody is sitting there watching you play and telling you what you're doing wrong, and how to improve. Like that is a totally different realm. Like
yeah.
we're in a totally different place compared to
I,
guides.
yeah. I just don't. I don't know what they can coach you on. Like, yeah, farm faster if you're gonna do
Placement,
this.
ability usage, your
Yeah,
your your
your
rotation.
rotations. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
I
we're
mean,
playing World of Warcraft or something. I don't know.
I think that's what they're trying to do with the game. I think so.
They're
I
insane.
don't know.
This is insane. The game is not like what are you competing against? Like I don't understand.
Yourself.
Yeah, like dude, if you're by yourself, playing by yourself, like why do you need to play like a sweat? I mean, do what you're gonna do. It's do you. If this is what you enjoy, go for it. I'm honestly like I'm pretty libertarian, but it's ridiculous though that this exists. Like the idea that they think this is a viable thing to do, like whoever these people are doing this coaching, like that they think they can make money off of this, like is fucking insane. I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're trying to be a streamer and you want to be like a Uber, like high skill player or something like that, I guess I can maybe see that. But
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise, I can't fathom that. I can't fathom this at all.
I don't know. It kind of takes the fun out of the game. Like, even if I am a streamer, right, and I want to be really good at Diablo, I think like loot
Yeah.
type games are. I kind of mix Destiny in with Diablo, even though they're not the same genre. If I'm trying to be good at Destiny and like get the best stuff and the best raids and stuff like that,
Yeah.
even the PvP in Destiny is not super serious, and Bungie intentionally does that on purpose. Uh, but the problem is like for me personally, if I was trying to be a streamer, I would just like
Yeah.
to learn the stuff by myself, like learn it on my own, and then learn how to get good at it. And
Mhm.
then while I'm streaming, I can teach people like, okay, yo, this is what I did, to get better at the game, and these are my rotations, and this is why I found out, running this path a million times, doing this fucking side quest a million times or whatever, run this dungeon a million times. I
Yeah.
found this to be the most optimal path. But that's something to me that you have to find yourself. It's almost like getting coaching for fucking Monster Hunter. Like there's a
You're
person sitting there and telling you like, yeah, you have to charge the bow like right here when the fucking Rathalos is charging at you. Like it's
yeah.
so fucking
Yeah.
weird. And it to me that would break my concentration. I'm like, I need to fight this monster or raid this dungeon. Can you
Mhm.
please get out of my ear?
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just weird to me. That's why I put it in the group
Dude.
chat, and I was kind of
Yeah.
upset about it too. But
Well, type it in Google, dude. Like I just the first page is full of sites and I jumped on one called overgear.com and
is it a
5-star
coaching?
ratings based on 25,000 reviews. They're
What?
coaching. Order Diablo 4 coaching to master your spec and learn all changes in Diablo 4. With our D4 coaching, you can quickly learn the new talent system and specifics of Paragon system. During sessions in Diablo 4, you can learn everything you need to know for successful adventures. All optimal builds for various situations, rotation specifics, gear options, and more. Buy D4 coaching now, and we will help you bring the maximum impact on every fight. What you will get: quote, coaching with professionals, whatever that means, and advice on how to level up your character correctly, consulting with pro players among the top 1,000 players in hardcore mode, how to reach level 100. We will answer any questions related to the game and its mechanics. We will teach you how to identify items useful for your character. We will inform you about methods for obtaining a large number of objects and gold. And we will explain how builds work and what items are build forming. Like,
What?
what? What?
Isn't that the
What?
fun of the game? Like, am I
Yes.
stupid?
Yes. That's the
That's
whole
the front of the.
everything they just described is how what you do when you play the game. Like as you're playing, you're supposed to learn all these things as you're playing, you know? How to level up your character correctly. Like, oh my god. Is that where we are? Like there's a quote correct way to level up your character, you know? Fucking scrub. Oh, you got to level 20 in 2 hours? Oh, what a loser. I got there in 15 minutes. Oh, you know, it's like
I don't know who to blame. I mean,
oh my
it
god,
is
man.
it Wild's fault? What was it called? What was the website called?
Elitist
Like Wild
jerks.
Expert?
That was the
Yeah.
beginning, dude. I still say that is the beginning of all of this. I really believe that elitist jerks started us down this path, and they have just sat back. I'm sure those people have just sat back and watched the world burn around them as streaming has gotten popular and sweaty streamers have become the norm, and now we're so sweaty that you need to be coached to play your fucking single player game. Like,
That is insane. I just you know what?
$30 an hour,
You're
by the
right.
way, if you want coaching.
I'm sorry?
Thirty
You said how
dollars an
much?
hour. $30
Oh
an
my.
hour. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What are we doing? We're doing the wrong thing with our lives, dude. Like what why am I in the career I'm in? I don't understand, you know? Like
I don't even have enough time to do that. I can coach somebody to play Monster Hunter like
that's
really
what I'm
good.
saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's insane.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I wonder, you know what? I wonder if they got coaching for like,
They probably do have
I'm about to
coaching
say
for
it.
Monster Hunter. I'm gonna go look it up right now. Monster Hunter Rise coaching. Okay, it didn't pop up in Google. Okay, there's one site it looks like. If you're if you are looking for that coach to help you reach heights you've been unable to get to alone, look no further. Oh my god. There's only one though for Monster Hunter Rise.
Okay, it's
Okay.
only one.
So
I
it's
was
not
trying
this
to
isn't
see. I was trying to see if there's a coaching for Mario Kart 8, but I can't find any right now.
Elden Ring coaching. Elden Ring coaching for sale. But oh my god. Oh no. there's things for this.
Wait, really?
There's a couple. It's only a couple. I'm only seeing a couple.
Okay, there is one Mario Kart 8 coach.
Yeah. All right. What other popular games are people sweaty on that aren't multiplayer?
Even if it is multiplayer, like Mario Kart 8 coaching, bro.
Yeah, Apex Legends coaching. I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
tons of this shit.
there's tons of that shit.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Oh yeah,
tons of that
it.
shit.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a Diablo 4 specific thing. It looks like this coaching thing, because I was wondering, yeah, is this like a thing now? Are people getting coached on how to play?
Well, is it going to be a thing going forward though?
I know.
You know?
I know. That's what I was just thinking. Oh my god, is this the beginning? Is this the beginning of something? I mean, dude, 25,000 reviews and they have 5 stars. I mean, this is on their website, so maybe they're, this shit's rigged. Who knows? But dude, I mean, I don't know. I can't even, you know. Just play
I
the
really
game.
think
It's a leisure activity. Like, what are you doing? Do you get coached on how to read books? Do you get coached on how to watch fucking television? Like, what is happening?
Well, I think it's streaming, bro. I think it's streaming because, like, listen, right? So last week as well, or a week before last, some popular streamers and pros, I think we talked about it. They're asking, like, what ruined gaming, and
Yeah.
I was just like, gaming's not ruined. Like, there are a whole bunch of good games because there were like games become stale and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, when you play 100%, we were talking about the last week. When you play 100% of your time on Call of Duty, of course you're gonna think games are stale because you're playing 100% of your time on Call of Duty as a streamer or whatever.
Right.
So you don't have time to look at other games. I mean, of course, you probably know about Elden Ring or whatever the fuck, but then you don't know about games like Final Fantasy 16 or all the other games that just came out this past week. So many I actually can't remember the games that came out this past month that we still haven't even bought that we need to buy. So it's like, when kids see that, that's all they think. All they think is I actually think a lot of kids don't experiment anymore like with video games. Like they go by
Yeah.
what their streamers say and then
Yeah.
their favorite TikTok influencer, and then that's it. They don't actually just like, well, it's not really a store you can walk into anymore. But there's like, they don't really go to like a storefront on the page or whatever, or going like to the 50% off page and then just play random games or whatever. Hell, the only reason Cyberpunk got really popular is because of a fucking anime. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't really know what to say. Like, and then to me, yeah, when I saw that Diablo coaching, I was like, this is the icing on the cake. This is where gaming is at now. Like maybe the gaming we once knew is like long dead. I
Yeah.
don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
All right, let's compare. Let's look at some other sites. $5 for you can buy Diablo 4 coins. Oh yeah. Oh, you can have somebody do your capstone dungeon for you for $3.
Are you serious?
Yep. Nightmare dungeons one tier 1 through 100, $1. What the fuck? I'm guessing $1 per dungeon.
Well, I mean, I guess that's not
This is boosting. There's
yeah, it's
out
boosting
there.
because I
Yeah.
mean, because people remember
Yeah.
gold farming and fucking WoW. So
I mean, no, it was the thing of Diablo 2 also, gold farming and shit. So, I mean,
okay.
it's yeah. But Diablo 4 coaching on simplecarry.com, $25 per hour.
Okay.
But
I'm dead. I'm dead.
coaching with professionals. Like, dude, what does that mean? What does the word professionals mean in this context? How are you a professional at coaching in Diablo 4? Like, what's the metric? Like, what is I can't.
Is there a
I can't
rank in
do this.
Diablo?
I can't do this. I think there might. I don't think there's a. I don't think so
I
right
know there's
now. I think when the
okay.
season starts, there will be. So
All
maybe that's
right.
what
I mean,
people are gearing up for. I don't know. The seasons.
yeah, the
'Cause there
ladder
is
or
a
whatever.
ladder. There is
Okay.
kind of a ladder in that. I think.
I
Oh
don't.
boy. I don't know.
I thought the fun was just like playing the game, but
Yeah,
whatever.
just playing the game, man. That should be the fun. Or at least my opinion should be the fun. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Diablo 4 coaching, guys. If you want to get coached on Diablo 4, just $30 an hour. $30 an hour. All right, Montreal. Let's move on to what we've been playing. So, there's not really any news to talk about this week. Like nothing's happened. So Montrell and I are gonna kind of deep dive on Final Fantasy 16 because I started playing this as well this past week. So, Montrell, do you want to go through what you've been playing other than Final Fantasy 16?
That's literally all I've been playing.
Me
I'm
too.
sorry.
Perfect. Okay, great. Cut to review. Okay, so we're kind of gonna do this. I think we're gonna talk non-spoilers first. I'll give my like general impressions on the game, and
Yeah.
then we were gonna go into spoilers a little bit. I think we wanted to. So
Yeah, we're both at past the 50% mark. So we're gonna go that far into it, guys. But we'll tell you once we start talking about the actual story.
yeah,
But for right now, we're just gonna talk about non spoilers and then everything surrounding this game that I really want to talk about. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so so I started playing the game over the weekend. I just had a whim late in the weekend. I think it was Sunday night. I just was like, "Fuck it, dude! I'm just gonna start this fucking game." I'm I'm like wishy washy, like, oh, I gotta finish the tell you right now. Fuck it, let's start a fucking game. So I just put the disc in, I started playing it, and the game gripped me pretty immediately. Actually, I'll be honest. I like the game a lot. Early on, I was wavering a little bit, but I kind
Hmm.
of pushed through that. I pushed through that feeling, and it captured me back in, and I'm fucking all in. So I think I kind of want to go through like piece by piece, I guess, like thing by thing. So let me start with
Okay.
like I want to start with like the way the game looks, the environments and everything,
Hmm.
and graphically. This game is fucking beautiful. um they did an excellent job creating a really detailed world. It's super meticulous. Like there is so much detail in the environments themselves. When you're dude, I love going into the towns and just walking into buildings and going into all the rooms. Like it is so it's crazy how much work they did to make the environments feel lived in and real and like immersive.
Yeah.
um because it's all there, dude. It's like MMO level detail, and that's saying something for a single player game. But on the same side of that coin, there's a humongous issue with this, in my opinion, because the game feels really empty, despite what I just said. There is
Okay.
not a lot to do in the environment, um, unless a quest specifically takes you there. There's really not a lot of reason to explore. Like
I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
the chests, the enemies you fight, and those little sparkling items on the ground or whatever are not worth your time to even go find. Like it's fucking
Yeah.
worthless. You don't get anything good out of any of that shit. I can't even think of a chest that I fucking opened that I got something worthwhile out of the entire time I've been playing this game.
Hmm.
Um, Despite that, I say that that's my take on it from more of an objective standpoint. The way I feel, though, I actually like exploring for whatever fucking reason, despite the fact that it's not super rewarding. I just love how beautiful it is. I'm just like, I just want to like absorb this world. They did that good of a job making the environments, and so it's like a half love, half hate. It's unfortunate because I think I get, after playing the game as far as I have, I kind of get some of Skill Up's criticisms a little bit more now.
Hmm.
Because he had a similar problem with the open world, is that there's just not much reward for doing anything in it, and I think that is a serious negative. I think they did themselves a disservice with that. It kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy XIV, actually, in a lot of ways, because Final Fantasy XIV is similar, in the sense that, like, unless a quest takes you somewhere in the environment, it's just kind of a static environment. There's not much going on in it.
Yeah.
And it's very similar thing here, for the most part. There are obviously enemies running around and creatures and wildlife and stuff like that, but there's not much value in fighting most of those things. Like, you don't get
Yeah. Unless
anything
you,
good off of them. You get
yeah,
enough
unless you,
materials just going through the story that you don't need to grind anything.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree, and that, that criticism that he had of that part, I 100% agree with it. Especially towards the later half of the game, once you get to the 50% mark or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I just started like blowing through a lot of the environments and stuff like that. They are really gorgeous and everything, especially the towns and everything of that nature. Um, and I like how lively the towns feel and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, people are talking as you walk by
yeah,
them and stuff. They do say the same
exactly.
line over and over again, though, so it's like can get repetitive
Yeah,
if you're there too long.
yeah, exactly. Um, and I do like the environments. Like I said, it's just, yeah. There's outside of that, I quickly realized that there's nothing really to explore, because even if you get the chest or whatever and you try to craft, the crafting system is not that
It's mostly
good.
useless.
Yeah, it's mostly useless. I don't feel like the equipment is that really good as well, at all. I mean, they do
Yeah.
cooldowns and stuff like that
Yeah.
for you. Some of the equipment does, but
Yeah.
besides that, they just give you an immediate stat boost, and that's pretty much it.
It's par for
Uh,
the course for games like Hogwarts Legacy or Assassin's Creed. Like that's
well,
kind of, or like Kingdom Hearts.
I was just about to say that. So this game
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of Kingdom Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way it's structured, the way the equipment system is happening, the way the party system is happening.
Yeah.
Um, it's Kingdom Hearts meets Final Fantasy 14, meets Devil May Cry, and that's why I really didn't get the criticism for it rather, because the things that we should have criticized like Kingdom Hearts for, which I think people did, but people were mainly mad at the story.
Yeah,
Like Kingdom Hearts has these gorgeous environments. Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular has gorgeous environments, but they're like empty as fuck.
yeah,
And they're straight lines or they're big but they're straight lines or whatever. Whereas like Kingdom Hearts 2 and 1, they are the same way, but they're more condensed and they put a lot more stuff into those environments. But even playing Kingdom Hearts 2 recently, like I realized how empty and quiet some of those environments were as well. So I think that's just been the whole thing for action RPGs, except for like I guess if you're playing fucking Tales of Arise or something like that, or the Tales series, they do a really good job of trying to flesh out whatever they're trying to do, depending on the
mhm,
game you're playing.
yeah,
Um, for Final Fantasy 16 or however, uh, I went into it. The information I gathered from it, I went into it thinking it was an action combat game, and that's exactly what I got out of it. I didn't go into it thinking it was a RPG. Um, but before I get into that, I'll talk to him a little bit more about the environment and everything. So yeah, the environment I love. What I really do love about the entire map is like everything's meticulously placed, if that makes any sense. And then
yeah,
you can actually go to the like certain areas connect to other areas.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
do like that as well.
Well, I love that on the world map you see that
Yeah,
represented in the way that like because you're running through an environment. It was funny early in the game when I started going through the first like couple areas that they start making you go through after the prologue, and it was cool to see when the game would zoom out and make you travel somewhere new. It would show you the waypoints from where you've been so far, and you'd be
yeah,
like, it's like two connected areas, and it's actually a large stretch of land. It was a like not a small place. It was like, oh fuck, holy shit, I thought it would just
yeah,
be like one dot and you'd have a menu of all the waypoints, but each waypoint was its own spot. So it was kind of cool to see, and especially later in the first section of the game, the first half of the game, where you like literally you can walk the entirety of one of the nations, basically like the whole thing is
yeah,
available to you. It's not that big, but it kind of is the whole thing, and that I thought that was kind of cool. So
yeah. And the the characters themselves look really good as well. I know a lot of people are kind of hating on the facial animations of the NPCs when you're talking to them.
mhm,
To me, that's kind of always been like a JRPG thing, or just an RPG thing in general. The only game that really did it well was maybe The Witcher and some other games that went specifically out their way to put kind of programs in to like
well, yeah,
you know, to kind of match with the players or with the character saying to match the face or whatever. And I
yeah,
know Mass Effect
that's
had something
not
like
that
that, but
common. It's really not that common.
yeah. So and I guess because the budget I guess was super big for this game. I don't even think the budget was that big. I don't know. The more I play the game, the more I see what they put the money into. Um,
Right, yeah,
but I actually don't think this was a super huge budget game. I think this was like an average budget game. I don't like you can see a budget in like Final Fantasy VII Remake, for instance, right? Like I see the budget in
oh
that
yeah,
game.
oh yeah,
For this game, and that's not calling this game cheap by any means of the imagination. I just think they focused it more on animations more than like other stuff. Like I don't know, because the animations are really fucking fluid in this game when you're fighting, um, and everything of that nature. So, like, how did you like the combat? I'm curious to how you
yeah.
liked it.
Okay, so this has been the big sticking point of this game, I think, for a lot of people, right? And like you said, I didn't go into this game expecting an RPG, and I'm not getting that. And it's a different conversation. Maybe we'll talk about it here in a few minutes.
Yeah,
Of like, is this what Final Fantasy should be? But
yeah,
for me, playing it, I get I'm getting weird flashes of honestly, like the animations in combat, specifically the basic attack animations for Clive, remind me of The Witcher 3, like really hard. Because for
mm,
two reasons. One, the animations themselves and kind of the sound effects, but two, the kind of the hit markers, in an action game where you hit something and you like the game has either an effect to play or sound or the controller vibrates or whatever. Or
yeah,
when you get hit, same thing happens. This game and The Witcher 3, like I think that's one of the weaker elements is those hit markers are not good. Like I don't it's hard to you don't really feel the impact when you hit something with your sword, you know? Um and
Okay.
and maybe that's what they were going for. It's not like it's not a huge deal. It really is not a super deal breaker. It's just kind of a feeling thing. But the overall combat though otherwise is it's it's like I don't think skill up was necessarily doing it a disservice when he explained it. It's it's not that deep. um
It's not. No.
there's a lot going on. Like there's a lot of things you can do, but all those things are as shallow as a puddle. It's like there's not like it's a wide range of options you have, but none of those options really go very far. Like you're not it's not super complex. So because I was expecting a little bit more of a combo system here, and maybe I'm missing something, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of that available to you. Like there's your basic combo, which is just square, 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 whatever. Then you can do
Mhm.
you can do square triangle for like the quick magic, like attack magic, attack magic, attack magic, or you could do square, 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 triangle for like your burst at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I haven't explored that much. I was trying to find like a list of like combos and I couldn't find one in the game. So I don't know. Did you see? Have you found anything more than that, or am I?
So
Um,
yeah, I think this is where we're gonna differ in the game as far as
yeah,
the combo system. Um, so you guys are right. So there is a basic combo which is the XXX or I'm sorry,
square.
square, square, square rather, and then like square, triangle, whatever. Um, or you can like put a charge attack in there somewhere.
Oh yeah,
Um,
true. Yeah, you can hold. Yeah.
um, but I think where this is where I get upset with the shallow, the wide as a pool but shallow as a puddle thing.
Hmm.
I think in a lot of games, especially like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta and even Near Automata and stuff like that, they
Yeah.
have basic combos. But it's what you do with that wide array of stuff to where you can have last skill expression. Um, so
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
point of the game, in my opinion, is like to experiment and use your timers to do different things. If you want to like do like a juggling type deal with the characters and everything like that, because I can
Mhm.
air combo like crazy. I can stay in the air for almost like no joke, like 30 seconds to a minute
Yeah.
in the game.
Yeah.
I can keep a character in the air for about 30 seconds to a minute, even after my things are done.
Hmm.
Um my cooldowns are done, and or I can get my rotation down to where my cooldowns will come back or whatever. I mean, I can show you videos. I can like send you videos and show you like what I do or whatever. But like it's it's a combo game. It's a combo heavy game. It's just that you have to explore it. You have to go into the training area and actually explore it. Because like Devil May Cry is the same way. Or in Bayonetta, in my opinion. I think Bayonetta is a
Hmm.
little bit more loose with its combos.
Yeah.
But like Devil May Cry is it reminds me of the same thing, but it has a lot more options available to you. But if you don't use those options effectively or know how to use those options or even
Right.
study how to use those options, then yes, the game is super shallow.
Well,
It
so
was it was like that for me with like DMC3. When I
yeah.
first played DMC3, I was like, this is all right or whatever. And then I went on YouTube and I saw somebody play DMC3, and I'm like, I've been playing this game. This is like way back in like 2006 or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, I've been playing this game wrong the entire fucking time. So then I
Hmm.
found out how to play the game not correctly, but like I found out how to put more skill expression into the game. Um, a huge thing that people don't understand is the air step that you get in these games.
Hmm.
Air steps are like super in depth, so I can like get super in depth with the game, but like that's one thing that can like almost reset your combos, especially some of your air basic combos to where you can extend them and do things of that nature. So it's just like you got to find which ones can do more stuff. Certain attacks can parry in the air or
Yeah.
parry on the ground, and then they can extend it, or you get a cooldown back really fast, or whatever the case may be. So that was my issue with the game, as far as like uh that's my issue with these games. I don't know how the game can rectify it. I don't know how this genre can rectify that. The character action genre can rectify that.
Mm.
Do you show people playing the game till its fullest extent, or do you let players like this is how you can play the game? or do you let players discover that for themselves? But then if you try to let them discover it for themselves, then they just call the game a button masher
They
and
might not discover it.
they
Well,
might not discover it. Yeah.
this is the problem. So counterpoint to what you're saying,
Hmm.
because I see what you're saying here, and like I'll admittedly I haven't gotten super deep into this myself, like because it's not necessary. The game's not hard enough that you need to do any of this shit.
True.
You know, you
True.
can literally
I do
mash
not kind of.
square and dude, straight up, you can literally mash square and like hit R1 at the right time and you'll win every fight. You know, it's like it's as simple. It can be as simple as that. And that I
Yes.
think that's ultimately the problem with it, you know. I'm not
Yes.
saying I hate this. I don't. I don't have a problem with this at all.
Hmm.
Because it's not like it's an interesting. This isn't a really. It's a weird game because your dodge in this game is not like an iframe dodge. You know, you need to time it
Yeah.
right. If you
Yep.
miss the timing, you're gonna get hit. So it's actually kind of unforgiving in that way in certain fights because there's a lot of this. There's a lot of that like Dark Soulsy shit where enemies have these weird attack timings where they're like winding up for an attack and they got the weapon over their fucking head and they look like they're about to slam it and then they hold it an extra second and then they slam it. You know, a lot of that shit in this game and it's fucking annoying. And then there's fights where it's a little bit more straightforward where the enemy attacks when it looks like they're going to attack, you know?
Yeah.
But so I think that's ultimately the issue is that when you make the game too easy, I guess I'll say, because I do think this game is easy.
Oh no,
Um,
you're right. You're right. You're right.
there's not a you don't push players to explore the combat when the game is so easy, you know. Because that's always been the driving factor for me to learn a game's combat system really in depth is when I'm struggling to beat it. You know, like for instance, like God of War. Like I'm pretty sure I brought this up in the past. Like I beat God of War 2 on Titan mode, which is the hardest difficulty, and
Yeah.
I had to fucking learn that game in and out in order to
And
beat
you
that
had to do
shit.
like the crazy combos in that
I
game,
had
I'm
to learn
assuming,
the
right?
combos. I had to learn what gave me iframes and in what way it gave me iframes. I had to learn all sorts of weird mechanics that like the kicking enemies in the game, like grabbing them and throwing them at other enemies did way more damage on Titan mode because it did enemy damage rather than your damage. So you would fucking obliterate monsters by throwing them at each other. You know, it's like I had to learn all that weird shit because it was required to beat it. Like you could not
Mhm.
beat it if you didn't learn that shit. It was too hard, you know? So that's kind of the issue here. The game doesn't have a higher difficulty.
Yes,
And I think maybe it unlocks after you beat the game.
it
Um
does. So like
yeah, and
so
that sucks.
and that's where I another issue that I have with the character action genre um in general, because all these things is like, I don't want to say the same thing as Devil May Cry, but like, so when you play Devil May Cry, the bosses act the same and everything. They have these winding attacks and everything of that nature. And there are various ways to get past these attacks and everything of that nature. And in the easier modes, you don't need to do certain things. But when you get to the harder modes, like Dante Must Die mode, where you literally die one hit, or Son of Sparta mode, or whatever the case may be, like the enemies are more aggressive and everything of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
And in this game, it's a character action game, so you have to unlock the harder difficulty. Um, so the only problem with this game is, like you said, I agree. Or a couple problems with the game. The game is really easy. Even the action focused one or whatever. I understand why they did it, because this is a Final Fantasy game, and a lot of people don't play character action games, and this is a total derivative from what, or it derived, or varied, or what the fuck I'm trying to say. It deviated rather
Hmm.
from the original way Final Fantasy was intended, or was
Yeah.
played rather. It was a turn-based RPG. You can argue that uh, that 13, 15 was not that. So that's an argument that can be made for that, those type of games or whatever. Um, so that being said, it's a character action game, so it's gonna have character action game tropes, or qualities or whatever. So one of the things, even in Bayonetta, Metal Gear Revengeance, uh, Beautiful Joe, all these games or whatever, they have you have to unlock the mode. But the problem, or the thing with those games are, they're like maybe even near Automata, they're maybe 10 to 15, 20 hours tops. This game, obviously, we're not even done with it. It's like 50 hours to
50
65
hours. Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a problem when you try to do that way of unlocking the harder difficulty. I think there should have been a harder difficulty unlocked on off a rip. And people were saying, like, oh, well, in Devil May Cry, you get Devil Hunter. Well, Devil Hunter is nothing but normal mode in Devil May Cry. Sorry to break y'all like spirit. If y'all was playing like the normal mode, which I thought it was, it actually isn't. Devil Hunter is the normal mode. And then you unlock, Spartan mode, Son of Sparta, blah, 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 blah. So that's what this game is doing as well. Because once you beat the game, you unlock Ultima mode or Ultimaniac mode or something like that in arcade. You go to the arcade mode, to the podium or to the little stone, and then you press arcade, and then all those have modes for each level, and you can play the ultimate mode or whatever in that game.
Right.
And I just did that by doing some research or whatever. But that is one of the, like you said, the game doesn't force you to learn how to get better at the game, which is unfortunate because there's a deep learning system there, or not a deep learning system, but the combo system is deep. One major issue I have with the game is I don't really feel the need to. I switch up my abilities for combo extensions and more damage, but not for the enemy, if that makes any sense. So if I'm going against the ice enemy, I don't need to do fire damage because all damage does the same amount of damage, or not the same amount of damage, but all damage damages people. There's no penalty for doing fire damage to fire damage. So if you're fighting a firebomb, for instance, in other Final Fantasy games, and even in Kingdom Hearts, I believe, if in Kingdom Hearts 1 especially, it wasn't fire bombs in that game, but they did have the little fire heartless. And if you shoot the fire heartless with the fire attack, it would heal them. So that is absent in this game, which I don't like in particular. I don't like that. And I understand you're trying to go for, make the game more accessible to players. But yeah,
but why
I
have
think,
this? That's But what's the point of the elemental magic then? If you're
I just think it was
like,
for Flash. It was for Flash.
Yeah.
So like even Devil May Cry, and the reason I keep bringing up Devil May Cry, y'all, because the battle director from Devil May Cry, he literally got poached from Capcom and came over to Square Enix and worked on this game. So Devil May Cry has elements and stuff like that too, but they really don't matter, if that makes any sense. Certain things would do certain damage. So like say like you get the ice nunchucks, but if you fight the fire boss on Devil May Cry first, you don't have the ice nunchucks until like maybe later on in the game. But the game is intended to be replayed, so they know on the next playthrough you will have your ice nunchucks when you go against the fire boss. So certain interactions will happen that you never discovered on your first playthrough because you didn't have the ice and nunchucks unlocked. That's what they should have did with this game, or they at least should have did some kind of interaction with certain things. I think I see it one time. I think I was fighting like an ice dragon or something like that, and it happened like one time with me. But yeah, outside of that, you're right. There's really no issue. There's really no from the RPG side of things, or if you're not used to like character action games, in your eyes, there's no reason for it. But for them, they're like, it's just Flash. It's just like another weapon to use. It's another utility to use, or whatever the case may be, to do damage and everything of that nature. So like I have to explain that to people because the game itself doesn't do a good job of explaining that. And then the genre
it's also in
itself,
a series. It's in a series that has specifically done the opposite up until now. So
exactly. And I think if the game was named something else, if it wasn't Final Fantasy 16, maybe it was called Versus 15 or something like that, then people would have a different taking to this game. Feeling to this game. But since it's a main title game, I think people were expecting an RPG. And I'll be frank with y'all, like there are stats that it doesn't fucking matter. Like I fought a monster that was like 10 levels higher than me, and I beat the monster. That's because I mean, if you're decent at the game, then that doesn't matter to you. He did shoot a shit ton of damage to me if I got hit. But yeah, like it really doesn't matter too much. It's a character action game. at the end of the day. And I put it more akin to like I said, like Near Automata had levels, I think, as well.
Yeah, it did. There was a level
It
system.
is. Yeah.
It was weird though. It didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I put it more to like that part of the leveling system, like where
Mm.
it matters, but it doesn't matter. Um, so I just I don't know because like Near didn't have this issue, but Near I feel like Near has a great story, but like the RPG mechanics really don't matter. What matters is how you build to be.
Yeah.
And in this game, when you're building Clive, there really isn't a build. There, your build is how you use your rotation of spells that you have available to you,
Yeah. Right.
and how you combine them, and you kind of make your own fun and combos and everything of that nature. And to me, that's the beauty of the game, is doing that. And I understand it's frustrating. I've been on Twitter for like the last week, like defending this game, or not this game, but like this genre, because it's hard to explain to people the payoff of the game. It's almost like
Yeah.
yeah, it's just hard to explain it, or because like you said, the game isn't hard, so there isn't any reason I can mash square to win, or they give you all these accessibility options, which I'm not against to beat the game or whatever,
Mm.
and um so like that brings me to another side of the conversation to where
Well, hold on. Before
uh
you,
okay,
I want
okay.
to bounce off you real quick. So, two
Yeah.
things about what you were just saying. Number one is I wanted to bring up a game where I think has this same problem, and I've already brought it up. Is The Witcher 3. Um, that game, people don't like the combat in that game. But I have always said, and I continue to say this, and I think this is another example. Unfortunately, the game doesn't let you do this at jump. But when you play Witcher 3, I always tell people play it on Death March, which is the highest difficulty,
Mhm.
because that completely changes the whole fabric of the game. Everything in the game matters suddenly. You know, the potion system matters, the bestiary matters, like reading all that shit, using your signs properly, like all that shit fucking matters in Witcher 3. If you're playing on normal, it's the same thing we were just discussing. You can literally just go square, 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 dodge, square, 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 dodge, and you can kill everything. You know, like
Yeah.
that's how easy the game is. You know, at normal difficulty.
No,
S-
you're right. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you're right
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
I recommend playing it a level below if you was your
I
first
don't. I
playthrough.
really don't. I really don't.
To me, because
If you are confident in your abilities at action games, like
mhm.
if you've never played an action game before, he's right. Sure, go a difficulty down. But if you played action games, you played Devil May Cry, you've played Nier, you played all this other shit. I like seriously go for Death March. Yes, ghouls are gonna kill you in 3 hits, but God, that's the point though. It's dangerous. Like
But the stats in the Witcher compared to like Devil May Cry or anything like that, they
yeah,
matter a lot more. So
absolutely,
Witcher is
definitely.
a more of an RPG, and which is
Yes.
why I say like don't play normal mode, but play the mode in between it. And then once you feel confident, then you can bump it to Death March.
Yeah.
But even the mode in between it, in my opinion, this is coming from somebody who play action games. It was still hard for me because I'm like, damn, I'm getting hit in like this fucking
Yeah,
Necker
I
is taking
played.
me down in like 5 hit or 2 hits, bro. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck,
Yeah. Well, this is what I'll say about it. The reason I say Death March is because the difficulty below. So when I played The Witcher 1.5 times, I played the first time I played through it on the difficulty below Death March.
Mhm.
And I had the same experience. But eventually, the RPG mechanics are poorly balanced and poorly scaled. You get to a point where it's just like normal. You are obliterating everything,
Oh,
you know,
okay. I see
and
what
you
you're
take
saying.
like
Yeah.
no damage from anything, and you're just like a god. Death March never really becomes that. It's always hard throughout, and that's kind of that's why I recommend it. It
Okay.
is hard in the beginning. Eventually, you will get to a point where you can take some hits depending on how you build Geralt. But yeah, so second point I wanted to bring up though, this is about Final Fantasy 16 specifically, is that I
Yeah.
think about the combat, I think the stagger mechanic is actually a detriment to the game. I think it makes the combat, I'm not going to say worse, but I think it guides players in the wrong way because they really make it a big point about the stagger system early in the game, especially the prologue, and then when you get your second set of icon abilities, they make a big point about the stagger mechanic where you can like pull enemies down or pull them into the
Yeah.
air or whatever
Yep.
when they're half staggered. I think the stagger system is contributing to what we're talking about. Where I think if you take the stagger system out, play, because I'm seeing this with myself. I'm trying to wean myself off the idea of saving all my abilities for when the enemy's staggered. Like that is something I've been doing throughout the game, especially early on when I only had 2 or 4. And I could fit them all into a single stagger like section. I wasn't using them when the enemy wasn't staggered. So um I think the game kind of almost pushes you in that direction though with the way it's designed, because you do more damage in stagger and you can make your stagger damage huge by the end of a stagger if you get the 1.5 times bonus. So it kind of like pushes you to save all that shit because the cooldowns are long enough that if you don't have it for this, you might not have it for the stagger if you use it before you stagger the enemy. So like I kind of wish that mechanic wasn't there because it would encourage you to use your abilities more free flow at any time whenever it's actually useful, rather than just saving it for when the enemy's on the fucking ground just sitting there. So that's kind of, I think that's might be the core of the problem ultimately, is that I think a lot of players are being guided in that same way and then they never break the habit throughout their playthrough.
Hmm.
You know, and
That's
it's
that's super
I'm
interesting.
actively having to make that change in my gameplay as I've played more. I'm actively trying to use my abilities in different ways, rather than just waiting for the enemy to stagger and blowing all four or six of them at the same time. Um,
That's
so
that's super interesting how people play the game super
mhm,
differently from like other people. Because I used my abilities to get to the stagger,
yeah.
to like the
Well, there's one
midpoint.
ability specifically that I do use to get to stagger, and it's one of Garuda's. The one that's like a 25 hit combo or whatever. That one does
Yeah,
like crazy stagger damage.
yeah,
Um, but that one is also really useful to blow your chain up when the enemy's staggered because it does so many combo hits.
yep,
It gets you to that 1.5x damage bonus really fast. So it's like a give and take. That was the problem I was running into. If I didn't have that, then I wouldn't get to that full damage bonus during the stagger. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of annoying. The game almost like punishes you a little bit for using abilities when you're not in stagger. At least it feels that way. So
yeah,
it's like I felt pushed to not do it, because you don't have to. It's not that hard to stagger enemies in this game.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's not. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the game just needs to be harder. At the
hmm
end of the day, I hope they come up with some kind of patch or something like that for when players buy the game later on. That there is a mode that you can just play off rip that's harder. I think that's the main takeaway from like the conversations I've been seeing and the conversation I've been having. Because I agree, I think the game's easy, but I thought maybe it was just easy because like one, because I'm already good at these type of games. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm already good at these games.
yeah,
So I know how to play the game, and I know how to, even when the game is like easy, I know how to make combos and you know do fucking juggle 4 characters at the same time or
hmm
alternate
yeah,
between them and everything like that.
yeah,
I know how
yeah,
to do all that shit and make the game fun for myself. Whereas other players, they don't know how to do that because the game doesn't really force them, and the game doesn't really show them.
right,
Um, and I and I that's the biggest issue for like character action games. Unless you actively go out your way and search
yeah,
for like you
yeah,
know like a Scarlet Nexus is a good example of this. Like if you go out your way and you search like Scarlet Nexus, y'all type in right now Scarlet Nexus mad combos, and you see all the stuff Kiriko can do in the game, or is it name Kiriko or is it Yuri? I can't remember. Um, all the stuff that he can do in the game and the juggling and using all your party members to your full advantage and everything of that nature, you'll be like, "What the fuck? This game is crazy." Even like in like Tales series, they do the same thing. They have mad combo. They call them mad combo videos. Um, like Devil May Cry and Astro Chain and all these games like that, they have something
mhm,
called Mad Combo videos where you have to look up like players because these are character action games. They give you basic combos, but what the players do with those combos and these abilities makes it look like super fucking flashy and super fucking cool at the same time. Um, and I don't I think they should. I think character action games should start putting some of those combos or some of those videos in the actual game. And it can. I don't know if they should tell you like, hey, like this is the potential of the combat that you can get to in what at one point or whatever. Because even
yeah,
Bayonetta has mad combo videos and stuff like that, and they'll show you like this is what you can do. And yeah, I just don't know how they can implement that or whatever. Um, I guess when you beat the game, they can show you like you know some kind of video or whatever. Like now that you beat the game, this is what your potential can be, and they show you like a little 30-minute video of like fucking Sunni Legend playing, you know, Devil May Cry or some shit like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But I think that's what they should do as well with these games. They should start advertising them with like people who play these games on a normal basis. They should get the
Mhm.
Sunni Legends, the Don
Absolutely,
Gearys,
100%.
to advertise these games, even in their main promotion of the games. Because if you
Well,
don't do that,
Horizon
then
did
you're
that. Horizon Forbidden West.
yeah. And I think that was even Dark Souls did it a little bit as well. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West was a good example because I'm like, wow, that combat actually looks really good and everything of that nature.
He made it look
I
better
think
than it was too.
yeah, The Last of Us 2, like
Yeah.
the
Oh
way
yeah.
he was playing The Last of Us 2, I was
Absolutely.
just like, I need to
Yeah.
go back and play this game again because like the
Yeah.
way he makes it play is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I think they need to start doing that, especially for these type of games. Even in Monster Hunter or stuff like that. Like I know Monster Hunter has a good reputation already, but to truly show the potential of what you can do, all the counters and guard points and certain weapons and stuff like that, what you can do to the monsters, they need to do that. And I feel like Final Fantasy 16 is no exception to that rule. Um, so
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, I get the criticism, but like a part of me is just like everybody, like not I don't want to say professional gamers, but everybody are gamers. So it's like if you don't know something, then just like kind of look it up and see if you can make it
Mhm.
more fun for yourself. I don't know. And maybe that's just the way my brain works or whatever. And I
Yeah.
understand like I'm not other people don't play the game. So that's why I really wanted to get your opinion on the combat because it's like I know you play action games, but you don't play them to the extent that I play them. Um
Right.
and
I've played a few pretty deeply. But
yeah.
yeah, like I've never played the Bayonetta games. Like I played Bayonetta 1 for like a few hours. I've never
Yeah.
played Devil May Cry. Like I've played couple of the God of Wars like super deep, and then I haven't played the rest of the series. Like so
Yeah.
it's like I've definitely dabbled, and there's certain games that have really like grabbed me, and I've become like super into them. But yeah, I'm definitely not anywhere near as deep as you are in that genre for sure. And I play
Yeah.
like Nier, but I kind of feel like Nier is like a Nier Automata is like kind of weird. I don't like put it
Yes.
in that
It
same
is
space, you know?
it is a
Yeah.
weird game. It is a character action game, but it is more accessible.
It's on the
Uh
periphery of what I would
yeah.
consider a character action game though. Like,
Yeah. It is
um,
more accessible to where players can do stuff and you feel like you're also getting powerful and the difficulty is
yeah,
there as well. There's
yeah.
incentive to dodge and everything and all
Yes.
this stuff like that. Whereas in this game, there is incentive to dodge, but you really don't you can mash square to win, unfortunately. And I don't like that premise, but that's
Yeah.
what the game presents itself as.
Yes.
Because
And when that's the thing, players generally are going to take the path of least resistance in whatever they play, you know?
yeah.
And if you design your game in such a way where you can mash square in R1 and win, that's what they're going to do. Most players are going to do that, you know? And you're going to have very few, like you are the minority, I think, in this
Yes. I am.
space for sure.
Yeah.
um
yeah.
and and trust me, like I said, I'm trying to get myself to learn more of the intricacies of this game's combat because as I've dabbled a little bit more, I'm definitely having a lot more fun with it rather than just like square 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 triangle square triangle square triangle. It's like, but like doing the actual like trying to link abilities together and figure out how to switch at the right time to like use the fucking Garuda grab to pull an enemy back to me to keep hitting them, shit like that,
Yeah.
like stuff like that. So I'm trying to dabble a little bit more in it as they've layered more another icon on me now. It's like, and the third one you get is like way different than the other two, the first two. Like it feels way different at least. So I'm trying to figure out how to use that one effectively. Cause it's definitely a little bit more thoughtful. I guess you need to be a little bit more thoughtful in how you use it. Um,
Yeah, no,
so
like
yeah.
I'm gonna like while I'm talking, you can watch this video I'm gonna send you. It's like on my Twitter, so
Hmm.
uh, send it to you on text message here.
Sure.
All right, but yeah, no, I agree. The game definitely needs to teach people more how to play the game, or force them to use combos and everything more effectively. Um, and give them incentives. Because like I think that's why I know you hate the style system or like you get scored, but that's like one of the incentives to the scoring system in like Devil May Cry,
Yeah.
like super smoking
Yeah.
sexy when you're doing all these cool shit, and you just feel badass when you get that super smoking sexy or whatever, shit or whatever. And it, like Bayonetta does the same shit or whatever. But it's just like, um, yeah, I agree. I just at the end of the day, the game needs to. So in the game, not in Square's defense, because you know I hate fucking defending Square, but like in Square's
Mhm.
defense, though, right? I feel like as far as not the players, but the game journalists wise, I feel like if this game was too hard or just a little bit hard, um, then people will be like, "Oh, well, it's just so hard. Oh my god!" And
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And uh Square kind of bit themselves in the foot as well with the game because they gave everybody these accessibility options. To me, the game should have just been super hard. Like you gave me all these accessibility options, but the game's still going to be hard. Like I have the option to use these now or whatever.
Right. Yeah, you make the game easy and then give accessibility options and it's like a joke,
Exactly.
you know? Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
so
think they were trying
yeah.
to like. I think they were trying to um like they didn't want to go the route of like Elden Ring or Sekiro or whatever because we have seen these journalists complain about, oh well, it's just so hard, we need some kind of easy mode or whatever. So it's like on one side of the spectrum, we want games to be hard, but then on the other
Mhm.
side of the spectrum, we want the games to be easy. And I kind of understand where developers get frustrated at because it's like, where is the middle point? And I think that's where their job needs to come in and like QA testing and everything of that nature. I don't know how this got past being easy. And I understand maybe they just wanted people to experience the story, but that's why you have the story based mode, you know? So
Right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, so I was looking at your video and yeah, like I see what you're doing. Like you're not doing anything outside of what I would think you are capable of doing in the game. Like I was able to keep track of everything you're doing there in that combo. You're using abilities to do like you're using abilities in the way I'm saying that I haven't been, you know,
Mhm.
and I need to that's why I'm trying to start doing it. And I'll be to be frank too, I haven't explored the ability tree super deeply either.
Okay.
Because the game doesn't really require it.
It doesn't, and
You
that's the
know,
problem.
it's like
Yeah.
you don't even need to level up Clive to be able to kill shit. Like it's that's yeah, it's I don't know. It is unfortunate because I actually feel like I think they really have done like you said, I think they've done themselves a real disservice by doing it this way, you know. I because I would be curious to see what a harder difficulty feels like in this game, you know, like what does it really like what does that feel like, because there have definitely been some bosses specifically that I have barely beaten, you know. I'm like on my last potion, I don't have any fucking healing left, and I'm at like 500 HP, you know. And I'm barely making it to the end of the fight or whatever, and you know, on a harder difficulty I wouldn't be able to complete that. I would have needed to figure out the fight better, you know, like how to fight the battle better. So um you know, because I think that's another thing the game does pretty well though is the boss fights. I think there's a lot of them, definitely. Some are bad, some aren't great, but there are some really standout ones though, I will say too, as well at the same time. So it's interesting that the game has such a combat heavy focus when we're also saying that it's easy, you know. It's like because there
Yeah.
are a lot of sections of this game that are really combat heavy, um specifically at the end of what I would call act 1 of the game is like really combat heavy. There's a lot of combat and it's actually not easy encounters either. That's like the
Yeah.
one part of the game where they actually start throwing some difficult stuff at you a little bit more, but it's only for that area though. And then it's like right back to the same old, you know, kind of brain dead combat again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It-
it's unfortunate because I think people are missing something here because to be frank, even with the fact that I'm not like, you know, doing getting super deep the way you are, I still think the combat is fun, you know. Like
oh
I am
yeah.
still
Yeah.
enjoying myself when I'm fighting things, you know,
Yeah.
because it is flashy, it's very flashy, and it kind of rewards you for doing things successfully. Like the perfect dodges are awesome. I love the way they
Yeah.
look. Like it's so cool. Like, and then when you counterattack, like it just looks awesome.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like the spectacle of the game is really good. Like,
Hmm.
you mentioned the boss fights. I absolutely almost every boss fight in the game.
Yeah.
I think there was like one boss fight I really didn't like. I can't
I'm
remember it,
talking, I
but
guess the major ones are all really good. I'm talking the ones that aren't so great are those minor ones where you're fighting like
oh
a
yeah, when
beast
you
or
just gotta
something.
stagger them. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, the major boss fights, like they give me like old school God of War vibes. Like I just when I'm
Yeah,
playing it, I'm just like, yo, this is like
definitely.
it's
Definitely.
just you feel when they so that's the problem, another problem with the game. Like when you feel up, you feel up. Like
Yeah.
it's a high that you get.
Yep.
And then when you get to the low where your high is done, you're like, oh my God. And then I guess that's the incentive of the game, like to play through it again so you can get that high again.
Yeah.
Because like when
Yeah.
you get done with those boss fights, then the low point comes or whatever. And I guess that kind of moves me to the next one. Like, how do you feel about without getting into spoilers? Like, how do you feel about the side quest?
Okay. All right. So, to again reference Skill Up's review, like he's totally right about what they are. They're MMO side quests. Like they,
Yep.
they're not good. They are not good at all. Like if we're talking about side quest design, like Witcher 3 versus this game, like Witcher 3 is on the far end of the other pendulum side of the pendulum, like super good, amazing, deep, like interesting mini short stories. And then you've got Final Fantasy 16 on the other side of the pendulum that's like bad, simplistic, like nothing valuable comes of. You don't even get good shit for doing them either. Like there's almost no purpose to them. I like, but again, at the same time, I say this like two sides of the same fucking coin. Once again, like I have done every side quest so far because they're
Yes,
easy. Like they take
they're
no
easy
time at
to
all to
do.
do. So, you know,
So I approach it. I agree with both of y'all as far as one point. I think the way the side quests are actually the activities are
yeah,
very MMO-ish. Like they're the fetch
yeah,
quest or they're go here, kill this, come back, which is another MMO.
yeah.
Now, as far as like I think the stories, I think the stories are actually, in my opinion, I
Some
think
of them
they're
are, some of them actually are pretty good. Yeah,
yeah, I think the stories are
yeah,
actually good and they add more character to the world,
yeah.
which I think what they were trying to do. I actually feel it was actually like one quest where I was just like, I wasn't like about to cry or anything, but I felt like really fucking bad or
Are you,
whatever.
there's two in the Empire, the Chloe one, and then the one where the dad and the kid are
Yeah,
like,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
those two,
yes.
yeah,
Those two,
those hit
those
me.
hit me really
Fuck,
hard.
I was
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah,
Um,
that was those two. I was just like, okay, I see where they're trying to go with this because, like, the game did the side quest did add depth to like the situation that people are in,
the
and I think
areas
that's
you're in, the
yeah,
lore of
the
the
lore
region you're in, yeah, like the very
exactly.
specific, yeah, and I think they do an effective job of that.
Yes,
Like so, I guess they're not the worst shit ever. So that's a bad way to describe it. Like I think the actual
the
act of doing
activities.
the
Yes,
act of doing the quest is really bad. But yeah, the actual stories, some of them, they're not as good as The Witcher 3. They're like not even close to that.
they're not. No,
But there is some, they're filling in gaps that the main story can't get to,
yeah,
which is what an effective side quest should do in an RPG. So
and unfortunately, they just do it in a very MMO-ish way.
yeah,
I think that if there was more
they
effective
do.
ways,
Yeah, they do.
especially if y'all play Final Fantasy 14.
Oh
It's
my god.
when I told y'all like it's Final Fantasy 14 with Final Fantasy
Yeah,
16 style.
yeah.
Like there would be sometimes there's just like, all right, I'm gonna walk over here and go look for it. And then the character in Final Fantasy 16 they actually show the character walk over there. But
Yep.
like in Final Fantasy 14, they would just disappear and then they'll
They'll just
reappear right there.
reappear over
And
there.
that's where
Yeah.
your quest marker is at. And I love it because it's so fucking Final Fantasy 14. I just love to
Yeah.
deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But if you haven't played Final Fantasy 14, then you would probably be like, what the fuck is this game doing? Like, this is shit is kind of stupid. And I understand why people say that, and I understand Skillet's review of why he said what he said. But me coming from Final Fantasy 14, I'm used to it. When I played the game, I'm like, Yeah, this is just Final Fantasy 14. I mean, obviously the team that made this game, Yoshi P
Yeah,
fucking made this game. You can
yeah,
obviously tell this is his style of storytelling.
yeah.
Um, um, and yeah, I think he needs to improve that. I don't think this is. I think this criticism that he's getting, this backlash, is really good for him to improve it because he's been working on Final Fantasy 14 for the last fucking 10
And
years. You
everybody's
know,
been sucking his dick for 10 years. Yeah,
Exactly. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, oh,
yeah,
so one thing about this though, like I think there's a juxtaposition here with this though, because I will say one thing in the game's favor with these side quests is that they are really short. They take like 5 minutes to do, like 5 or 10 minutes, if
yeah,
even, most of the time. And I will say that is a big reason why I have done them all, because they're short. I often, both of us have complained on the show about game bloat and games being too large. And for a game that's as big as this game is, ultimately like 50 hours to do the main story, I kind of appreciate the fact that there isn't a ton of side activities to do. I don't
yes,
need a 150-hour game out of this, you know?
yeah,
So I kind of am enjoying the way they did it, even though I objectively don't think it's that great. Like, it could be much better than it is. I'm kind of okay with that, because if it was a lot better and super fleshed out, like, the game would be 100 hours to full complete instead of like 70, you know?
yeah.
And that would make me potentially not do a lot of the stuff. So,
Yeah, and I agree. And that's why I actually like the side quest, even though like I don't like the activities. I like just doing the side quest because I get a good piece of lore or world building from whatever side quest I'm doing.
mhm.
And the voice acting's in all there's voice acting in almost every side quest. Like
Yep.
95% of the side quests have voice acting and
Yep.
they're really good. And I think they add a lot to the characters, even the side characters. Like I really like, what the lady, at one
Jill.
of the Jill, yes, but I was like one of the side
Oh,
NPCs, Martha. Um,
oh,
yeah, I
Martha.
like Martha a lot.
Okay.
And then when one character, I don't even know if you got that far yet, so I ain't gonna say that. But
Okay.
um,
Thank you.
yeah, but yeah. So some of the NPCs, some things do happen to some of the NPCs, and I feel really bad for that because I'm like, wow, I kind of not grew up with this NPC, but goddamn, like I like that person, and whatever the case may be. So it's like those side quests do add that kind of fuel to the fire. I think
Yeah.
with the way they've written it in like magazines and stuff like that, like, oh, this is gonna, totally do. It's like, not really. They should have kind of toned it back down, but I understand marketing. But
Hmm.
I do get that sense of like these characters are real. So that's one part of Skills Review that I totally disagree with. I feel like all these characters that I experience, and that's okay if you disagree with me. But it's like I feel like all the characters so far, even the NPCs, like the shop people and everything like that, they have their own vibes to them, and they
Yeah.
have like a certain
Yeah.
relationship with Clive. And I feel that relationship with Clive. They feel like actual people,
Yeah.
um, instead of just a storefront or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it because you have to interact with them in the main mission as well.
Yeah.
So uh like everybody's kind of like not everybody in your camp, but like a lot of the people in your camp are fleshed out, or
Yeah.
their personalities or whatever. Besides your main party, besides Jill or Sid or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
um, and I actually like that. So I disagree with that assertion or that assessment where he said like he hated and a lot of other people said that too. That outside of Clive, there's no character building or anything like that. And
That's
I
crazy. I
strongly
don't agree
disagree.
with that at
Yeah,
all.
I
Yeah.
strongly disagree with that.
Man, what are you talking, dude?
And it wasn't just him; it was a
We'll
lot
get
of other
into
people
that
that
in the
said it too.
spoilers, but because I saw some similar notion from Jim Sterling, not about characters, but about the world in general, that it was like overly bleak, and I don't view it as a problem. I guess, like, I'm okay with what the game world is. It is bleak. It's not a happy world to live in, like, especially if you're a bearer.
Yeah,
But still, I'm okay with it because they paint the picture in a way, like, there are light moments in the game. It's not like it's just dark, 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 dark constantly, you know? Like,
yeah.
there are upbeat moments where the characters, like, are happy or have a cute moment together or something like that, you know? So, um
And I really appreciate this is so rare in games. especially JRPGs or Japanese games or anime style games or whatever. First of all, the character is middle aged. Fucking love that. I mean, you play
Yeah,
through
he's
him.
like fucking dude. He's like I think 33 or something
Yeah, he's middle aged.
at the
But
point I'm
even
at
before he
now.
gets to
Yeah,
that point, uh, I like how he's not edgy. I like how he has a range of emotions. He's not like
he
always
felt
super
edgy.
positive.
It felt like they were gonna make him edgy at first, and then he's not
And,
edgy.
and he's not edgy.
Yeah,
He's just a character that like kind of like blends in with whatever emotions
I
is
I
there for the moment.
love I love I love his characterization.
Yes.
I think Clive is probably one of the best main protagonists we've had in a while in the Final Fantasy franchise. Like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think, like
Because they always
Titus,
fit into a
you know,
trope, right?
yeah,
Like Titus was
right.
like, the jock, and he well, not necessarily a jock, I guess, but
A
he's like the
whiny
happy go
jock,
lucky.
though. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like the happy go lucky one, or he's like, we gotta be positive, guys, and shit like that,
Cloud
or
is like the edge lord, quiet edge lord. You
yeah,
know,
exactly.
Squall is like the like playboy
Yeah, the
almost.
playboy or whatever, and
Yeah,
then
show
fucking
off.
Noctis
um,
is like, like
Also
the
edgy.
He's
Sasuke.
edgy. He's like edgy. But he cares secretly about his party and everything. The
Yeah,
party cares
yeah,
about him.
yeah. And then
So it's like,
what fucking what was the character from 12? Vane?
oh my god, yeah, I forgot all about
Yeah, exactly. Balthier is the main character of Final Fantasy 12. Don't try to argue otherwise.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like this character though, Clive, he has such a range of emotions that you can't
Vaughn
say
is his name. Vaughn.
Vaughn. Yeah, there you
I
go.
couldn't even
Uh,
remember his
you
name.
called him Bane. I was like, yeah, that's it. I knew it
Vane!
started with a B. but,
Oh my god.
but
Oh, that's hilarious.
I feel like this game, yeah, Clive in this game is like really good. He goes through a range of emotions, and it's like understandable. He is the edge lord after like one time skip or whatever. Like he's that fucking edge lord, like revenge, Batman, parents died, whatever he was. So it's like I understand it, and then he kind of like grows into himself and or whatever throughout the game, and then
Well, he's also
it,
not a bad person though. He doesn't like even early on if after the prologue, he's not like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with you." Edgy. He like actually is willing to help people,
yeah,
he is like genuinely a good person. It's just hewn with horrible tragedy and vengeance,
yeah, and
Um
I really actually like how like I said, Sid, he bounces off of Sid and everything of that nature. And other characters, they bring
yeah.
out Clive in him or whatever. So like, I don't know. I just feel like it's just a real disservice to say like this world didn't, because the character building and the world building, or the NPC world building rather, are hand in hand, because Clive, he has to talk to some of these NPCs, and then they kind of change his worldview or like make him realize certain shit. And he just like I say, like with the Chloe mission and this father and son mission, he was just like mortified what the fuck was going on
Oh my
there.
god, dude, the father son mission was hilarious at the end where I don't want to spoil it, but there's a guy who comes up and he says some stuff to the guy and it was fucked up, man. like like he was like disgusted at the end of it. He's just like, I just need to get the fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit. Like,
yeah, and it was kind of like justified, but
yeah.
at the same time, it was still fucked up. He was just like, I didn't really want that to happen to them in the first place.
Right, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. This went
so
a little too far.
yeah, so it wasn't
Yeah.
like, so he's not like all for like guillotining everybody, but he's also like, it just needs to be balanced and fair. Like that's the type of person he is. He's just a human being in this world or whatever. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like yeah, when I was reading that review and then I'm playing like the games and stuff, like, or reading a lot of reviews and I'm playing the game, I just felt totally different. I think people are still butthurt that you don't have a
A
dedicated
party.
party. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to talk to that. I want to talk to that here because um I playing the game, I feel like, and I'm now I'm doing, I feel like I'm harping on Skillup's review, but like I feel like he's the one that kind of set all this off, him and Jason Schreier,
Yeah.
with this game is I think he harped on the party thing way too much. Because you're with other characters all the fucking time. Like constantly. It's the difference is that it's basically a Naughty Dog game, the way they handle it. It's not a JRPG way of handling it, you know?
Yeah.
But you're with other characters constantly. There's very few sections of this game where you're alone as Clive. Like
Yeah.
he's just by himself. Like that does not happen almost ever in the entirety of the game I played so far. So it's I think it was a little disingenuous how much he harped on that fact that there's no party. Like there are characters that are part of, like they are protagonists, quote unquote, within this game. You know, like Jill specifically, Sid, like they are definitely main protagonists in this game. They would be
Yeah.
party members if this game had a traditional party system, you know?
Yes.
So you're just getting hung up on that moniker despite what's actually happening in the game, you know? And I kind
Yeah.
of I'm a little frustrated by that. Having played the game now, I'm like, I don't think it's a fair assessment to say that, you know, oh, this game deviates so much from the previous Final Fantasies. You don't have a party. And it's like, yeah, sure, you don't see their fucking health bars, but it's, I mean, is it any
They
different
do help
from
in the game too when you're fighting. They help a
Oh,
lot.
absolutely. They fuck shit up, dude. But yeah, it's like okay, they're just Naughty Dog NPCs, you know, like a Last of Us NPC that's like with you when you're in
Yeah.
those games. They can't be hurt, they can't die. It's fine. It's not a big problem. Like I don't have a huge issue with it. You know, I was concerned coming into the game based on his description that like you're just by yourself all the time, you know, and it's like no, you're not. Like there's characters with you all the time, you know? So I don't know. That whole criticism is weird and I don't think people should be harping on that personally. So
Yeah. And that I took it to akin to like, in my opinion, like Kingdom Hearts. Like, yeah, you have Sonic, you have Sora, Dino, and Goofy all the
yeah.
time with you, but you can swap those characters out, and sometimes you have to swap those characters
Well
out.
also
Um,
they don't they can't die in that game either, you know? Like they get knocked out and then they revive themselves after a little while, you know?
yeah, true.
So it's not like it's that complex of a game, and yet it's okay in Kingdom Hearts, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's just like the name, it's Kingdom Hearts. Like
It's
that's what
Final
Kingdom Hearts is.
Fantasy's been doing it a certain way,
Yeah,
and they changed the
exactly.
way they're doing it. You know, like that's the
Exactly.
issue. It's like we were talking about with Zelda. We always talk about
Exactly.
with Zelda, right? It's the same situation. There's just the shoes on the other foot now. We like this game, you know,
Exactly.
and we didn't like Zelda for those reasons. So I get
Yeah.
where people are coming from. I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong per se, but I do think like there are character interactions in this game
Yeah.
in enough of a way that it doesn't you don't need a party, you don't need to see your party members health bars, like you don't need to see their equipment. It's not that important to what the game's trying to do. And plus if
Yeah.
it was in the game, trust me, if they had done it that way in this game, you would probably be even more annoyed because it would be super shallow, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
so yeah, I don't know.
I mean, in my opinion, this is nothing but an improved version of Final Fantasy 15. In
Mhm.
my opinion, they
I agree.
streamlined a
That's
lot of things,
I feel a
and
lot of I see a lot of shades of Final Fantasy 15 in this game. I,
yes,
yeah.
I feel like this is what Final Fantasy 15 should have been or was trying to be, but they were also trying to cling on to what the old ways of Final Fantasy. And whereas this
Yeah.
game, they just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna go all the way." Even then, to me, this game is still being held back by the fact that it's a Final Fantasy game. Um, I think in the future for Final Fantasy, I think they're going to start just deviating to other genres of the game. Like the next game, the next Final Fantasy 17, maybe a strategy RPG game or
Well,
whatever, or a tactics game or something like that. You know?
to your point, dude, this is something like I do get a little frustrated when people because Final Fantasy is a little different from Zelda, right? Zelda's had a formula that it's always adhered to.
Yeah,
And there's been minor deviations in gameplay in terms of the orientation of the camera or your perspective or whatever, how you control Link. But the core game has always been the same, right? But like in Final Fantasy though, that's become the hallmark of the franchise is massive deviations from, you know, between entries. You know, like 12 was an MMO basically, a single player MMO game, you know? That was a huge deviation. And then 15 was an action game, and now 16 is an action game. You know, it's like they've changed entire genres with Final Fantasy, you know? So, and then they literally have 2 MMOs that are numbered Final Fantasy games. So, this isn't, in my opinion, that big of a deviation from what Final Fantasy has done in the past. It's like the series has always changed. Change is Final Fantasy. Like, that's what they
That's
do.
the problem though. I mean, even though we're not, I don't even consider us hardcore Final Fantasy fans. Um, I consider us casual, but like, I feel like even the hardcore Final Fantasy fans don't understand that point that almost each game was significantly different than the last game.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't
Once
have
you
the
got
same.
past 9, I'd say that's true. Once you got past 9.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like almost every game, right?
Yeah.
So like, I mean, like, yeah, I would even say 7 is different from 8. 8, well, 7 to 8 are probably the same battle system, the ATB battle system, and then 9 is different from 8 or 7 and
It's
8.
fully turned based, right?
Fully turn based, and then 10 is fully turn based. I don't care what nobody says. Whatever people want to fucking, that's like probably the most boring. Whatever.
It's
10 is
fully
that.
turn based. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
fully
fully
turn
turn
based.
based.
And then 11 is a MMO. Then 12 is a offline MMO.
Yeah.
13 is it's a more, I would say actually a more improved version of Final Fantasy Original 7.
Yeah,
It's in like
it's an
ATB.
ATB style system. Yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, 14 is another MMO, but a different MMO from 11. Um then yeah, 15 is an action game. And then yeah, 16 is an action game. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do something with Final Fantasy 17 where it's either an MMO or it's a fucking, I think they're going to do like some kind of tactics game. Like with this game, in my opinion, this
I
would
would be
work as a
down for that.
tactics game.
I would be down for
Uh
that.
so
Oh, for sure, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, like once we get into spoilers, you'll see why I feel that way. But yeah, like uh, I don't know. I just really appreciate how they try to experiment with the games or whatever. And I mean, Square Enix always tells you that the games are supposed to be different, and the simple fact that people are trying to put them in that box. So I finally understood what Yoshi P was saying when he said JRPGs. Calling it a JRPG is offensive, and the way people talked about this
True.
game was super
True.
fucking offensive. Like
True,
I
dude.
would be fucking offended. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they're trying
so
to
that
fit him in that box. Yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Totally, dude. That's
yeah,
true.
because everybody wants the game to be like Persona or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not going to be that, or they want it to be Final Fantasy
Final
VII.
Fantasy hasn't been like Persona fucking since like Final Fantasy 3 or 4. Like I don't, besides 9 and 10, I guess. But like I don't know what the whole turn-based thing is so weird to me with Final Fantasy. It's like not even half the games are turn-based, you know?
Well, that's
So
the thing. Like, and there are other games within Square Enix catalog that fulfill that need. You got Bravely Default. You have Triangle
Dragon Quest.
Strategy, or not Triangle Strategy, but Dragon Quest. You have
Yeah.
Octopath Traveler. Like, you have these games that fulfill that need that you want. And unfortunately, like the main lines don't give you that anymore. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to like be more sympathetic towards it, but it's just like because like what if my franchise did that? But my favorite franchise did do that. Like Sonic did do that. Sonic went from 2D to boost to adventure mode and all that. And then Mario did the same thing. Mario went from 2D to 3D to different variations of 3D and all this other shit like
Yeah, and
that.
then Zelda did it too.
And Zelda did it too. So I feel like it's a gradual evolution of like long standing franchises. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, like this past week and last week, especially on the not so much on the player side, but the Western media or the media side of things,
yeah.
I definitely saw what Yoshi P was saying, where he was just like, it's super offensive. Like
Yeah.
I consider it offensive when you call it a JRPG, when you call us JRPGs and everything like that. I have to call Final Fantasy a JRPG now because if I put action game, y'all gonna get upset with it. Like you're putting me in that box. So yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. Last aspect I want to talk about. Well, I guess let's talk about this all together, like story. And then we'll get into spoilers real quick.
Okay.
So story, just generally speaking, I'm really into the story in this game. I think it's the game's best aspect so far. I think the story is really has been well told so far. I think early on, I do think the prologue sets you up to be annoyed at the game, because
Yeah,
it withholds certain information and then presents certain events from a specific perspective that are really confusing that the game then later clears up
yeah,
multiple times. That I think was kind of annoying the way they did it, but once you're past it, it's fine. It's done. Okay, you get it. You get how everything went down. So that's all fine. But I think the story overall so far has been really good. I do think the political intrigue, I do find it interesting. I like that element of the story. And I think there's kind of an obvious place I think things are going personally. But it's been fun to kind of make our way there. I do think the voice acting in the game is like fucking excellent. Actually, it's some of the best I've heard in a Japanese game. The English voice cast does like a fucking amazing job. Like I think
yes,
Clive's voice actor is so good, dude. Like he's super good. And I think a lot of the other characters like Sid fucking I love Sid. Like I love that character. He's so good.
yeah,
And Jill's really good too. And a lot of the side characters, to your point, like in the side quests and stuff, the voice acting there is really good too. And a lot of the kind of random NPCs you run into or random characters that pop up in cinematics and stuff are all really well voice acted
yeah,
so far. So I think overall, like I think the presentation is where all the money went in this game. The production of the
yes,
story and the cinematics and the voice acting, I think that's where all the money went.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can tell that, but it's money well spent because it's been well executed so far. So
yeah. I agree with everything you really had to say. To be honest with you, like 100%. One thing I will say is you're doing yourself a huge as an English like if English is your primary language. You are doing yourself a huge disservice by playing this game in Japanese. Like even the creator
100%.
said, play it in English. Like
Absolutely. I actually think that might be the intended language. Like,
yeah, he said that. He said that was the intended
okay.
language. Yeah,
Yeah.
he told
Um,
Japanese players to play it in English with Japanese subtitles.
yeah,
Oh
that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I think that's all great. Going back to the environments real quick and just the way they relate to story. I think the music in this game, Soken, the composer, man, he doesn't miss, bro. The music in this game is excellent. There's some really cool areas. I don't want to say the name of it, but there's a ruin you go through probably halfway through act 1, I'd say, that has amazing fucking atmosphere. And the music is a huge part of that. So I think they've like overall, I'd say the music, the presentation, the story has all been pretty excellent so far. And I don't know. I mean, if you're just in for a kind of a thriller kind of ride, like you'll get a lot out of this game. I think a lot of mileage out of it. The political intrigue is there for sure too, but it's not the main course. I guess I'd say it's kind of a sideshow most of the time to what's actually going on in the story, but still interesting as well. I do think the game does itself a little bit of a disservice on that front, especially early because it does not explain super well. Like you kind of have to dig into menus to find out who certain people are and what nation is what nation and where it is on the map, and that kind of shit. Because um, I didn't know like one of the nations that you kind of run into enemies of early on. I didn't really know where they were located in the world map
mhm.
until you get to the second act, where it unlocks this whole like fucking encyclopedia thing that has tons of lore if you want to dig into it, which it's fucking crazy actually, like how much shit is in there. I can't believe like how detailed it is. It is like a literally an encyclopedia
That's
of game
that's where
lore.
that's where a lot of other money went to. I think the
Yes,
lore writing.
absolutely. Well, the presentation of it is insane. There's like a whole dude. There's like a whole fucking timeline breakdown of character relationships to Clive and everyone around him, and at specific points in the story too. Like at different times, it's like a whole timeline. It's crazy. And then there's like a state of the world map that you unlock at this point in the game too, where it shows you the state of the world at different points in time in this game story as well. like where certain nations are, and then the blight as the blight's moving, like kind of encroaching and stuff. It is super detailed. It's crazy. So if you want like a lore dump, it's there for you in the beginning of Act 2 for sure. But it's a little
Yeah.
frustrating though that you have to get that far to get that, because it would have been more useful earlier in the game when you don't know anybody. It
Yeah.
does have this thing that you can do in cutscenes where you press the touchpad and
I
it
was just
will
about to
pop
say
up.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll pop up information about characters, important characters, but it doesn't completely fulfill the need of what I'm talking about, because it explains who people are and like what a nation is, but it doesn't really tell you. It doesn't tell you where they are. You know, like you can't go to the world map and see where they are. You have to either look that up or wait till later in the game to find that out. So that was a little confusing, but now that I've kind of gotten everything straightened out, I know where everything is. It's all starting to make a lot more sense. But so there's a little bit of criticism there, but that encyclopedia thing is fucking crazy though. Like I was like blown away. I'm like, dude, this is like Mass Effect Codex
Yeah,
level,
because they
maybe
even
even
tell you.
more than that.
Yeah, they even tell you about wars that like the game doesn't even kind of mention. It just shows you
Mhm.
how the empire got into that state in the
Yeah.
world, and it shows you like these are the wars that happened to get to that, and why the world is that, or why that land is that land, or whatever. And it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I
and then there's
appreciate it.
the there's the yeah, there was like an entry. I was like reading through the lore entries earlier today, and the one of them was about the first year of the current calendar and the continental accord or whatever
Hmm.
that like standardized certain things, like the currency that everybody uses. The bearer system was apparently created at that point, so like year 0 on the current calendar of the game world was like created in that time, and it's been like that for like 900 years, or 850 years.
I gotta read
Which
that.
is
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like super interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting shit in there, dude. I'd like recommend going and looking at it. But there's just like a ton there though. It's a lot of reading. Yeah, it's like super detailed. I was fucking blown away when I like unlocked it and started looking through it. I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. So they put a lot of effort into building this world. That is clear. And I think it shows everywhere that you play the game that is kind of what their main focus was. I think they wanted to tell a story, and
Yeah.
um everything else around it is set dressing, that includes
Yeah.
the combat. So
Yep. I guess I definitely agree that they put the story as the foremost, because a lot of people complain about the story in the most current Final Fantasies. So,
yeah,
and that was our main complaint with Final Fantasy 15 was the story. Um
right, they didn't even
and
finish the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they did in this game, like it is the main forefront of the game. But that's pretty much all I have for non-spoilers. Do you have any more thoughts?
No, I think I'm good. I think we're ready to jump into spoilers. So yeah, if you guys don't want to hear any spoilers on the story, then I'd say stop now. There's really not much else we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, you can do the
um
rigmarole for those people.
Well, we do have a question. You want to get into that first, and then I'll do the rigmarole, hit spoilers.
Okay.
Okay, so Dat Dude did write in again this week, and he said, "What are games that you guys feel went under the radar and recommend people try?"
100%. I'm gonna start. I already tweeted about it. Fucking Scarlet Nexus. I think that game's
Yeah,
severely underrated. It went under the radar. People think it's like Code Vein for some reason.
yeah,
Um, and it's an anime game, so a lot of people wrote it off. But they actually tried in that game.
yeah,
Like it's not super deep, but you got character relations and you learn about your characters. They all have their own personalities and stuff like that. The story is okay until the third act kind of takes a nosedive. But I think the world they built was pretty cool. Yeah, that's like one game I do recommend that a lot of people play, like the Scarlet Nexus.
yeah. I got two, and they're both Vanillaware games: 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, and Odin Sphere Life Trial Zero. I don't know how to say it. The remake, the remake of Odin Sphere that came out in like 2015. Both of those, fucking dude, so good, so fucking good. Like you want, I don't like, they're not JRPGs. They're Japanese games, and they are beautiful, beautiful story driven games. Both of them. One's a 2D platformer, and the other one's kind of more of like a kind of like an adventure game sort of, and then half of it's like an RTS. um, so, but dude, 13 Sentinels, I like. They're both fucking phenomenal. I love them both. They're like two of my favorite games.
Yeah,
And
I read about 13 Sentinels. A lot of people recommended the game, and the
oh
gameplay
my
is more
god, play it,
gameplay is
dude.
more like a RTS style, but not RTS. It's weird how
No,
the gameplay
Montrell,
is.
just dude, like man, just dude, I
It's the
can't
story
recommend
that
it enough.
everyone's telling. Like the story in that game is crazy, from what I hear.
Yes, it's
The
it
story is
is,
fucking crazy.
dude, it is bonkers. It is layers upon layer. The onion has so many layers in that game. It is fucking awesome. And you know the way we were talking about presentation for Final Fantasy 16. So in a similar vein, that game also has like a fucking codex that like explains all the events that have happened. There's like a timeline where you can go through all the events as in the order that they happen because the game does not present them in order. So you can go back through and look through what the order of everything is like after you've played through the game. It's fucking super well done. So yeah, those would be two for me for sure. And then the third one is I mean I always bring this one up, but Last Remnant, also a Square Enix game.
Oh
But
yeah, that's such a good game, especially since it got remastered. Yes, it's a really
yes,
yes, yeah,
play the
that's a really good
remaster. But
game.
yes, remaster or on PC, either way, phenomenal game. Like it's a really good game actually. And it is unique. Like it is a unique video game, and that's hard to say in today's day and age. It has a combat system that is like nothing I've ever played. So, um, yeah, highly recommended. But yeah, it's cool stuff. It has Piccolo's voice actor in the English version as well. So he's the main bad guy. um, okay. Let me do the rigmarole, I guess, for everybody leaving, and then we'll get into spoilers here. So, for those of you who like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap4the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, and that is going to be it for us, guys. For those of you who don't want to listen to spoilers, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, for the rest of you who have played through Final Fantasy 16, I'd say halfway to 3/4 of the way through it probably is most
Yeah,
of what we're going to discuss here.
I'm gonna stop at halfway because that's where
Halfway,
you're.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's about where I am right now.
yeah.
So yeah, dude. So what are you thinking of the story so far in this game? It's
Um,
fucking interesting.
I think the game has achieved what it said it was trying to achieve. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
the Game of Thrones esque style of storytelling or like world ish type deal,
yeah.
because the Blight is essentially, the winter is coming type
Yeah, winter,
deal.
winter is coming.
Yeah. So I actually like that. I know people say the world was bleak and everything like that nature. I think the bear system as well added onto that, added layers on that to me that
Well, it's
Game of
interesting.
Thrones didn't have.
It's
And for the
interesting. It's
I'm
interesting that
sorry.
the people with the
Yeah.
power are the ones that are
I was
subjugated. You
I was
know?
just about to say that. So I
Yeah.
think that's super interesting that the ones that have
Yeah.
like magic powers or whatever are the ones
Yes.
that are the slaves and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
Or
The
in
dominance
certain
as well.
the dominance, yeah, in certain cultures, like the dominant, and that's another thing too. I like how they separate the cultures. So like in one culture, where Jill was captured at,
Yeah.
they think dominants are the devil and they just use them as a weapon. Like they don't even like them at all. And then in the other culture, where like actually where your land or where it used to be your land, um, dominants are the ones who are the ruling sect or whatever, or
Yeah.
the royal family or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I don't know. I'm just really enjoying the story for what it is. I actually look forward to doing the main story quest and everything, even though
Same.
sometimes like the main story quest, like where I'm at, uh, it was one tedious part, and I was just like,
Very side
bro,
questy. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, bro, and when you get to it, I can't wait till you get to it because I was frustrated by that time. I'm like, I need to stop doing this shit because you came off of like a super cool high, and then you're doing this again, or
Oh,
not
I think I
again,
might
but
know.
you're doing
Yeah.
this.
I think I might know
Um,
what it is.
but
Okay.
yeah, like I don't know. Where do you want
Well,
to start? You want to start from
so
the beginning?
Yeah. I guess like we don't need to go through every single story beat, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about the prologue. I guess like what did you think of the prologue? Because for me, I really like that section of the game. I actually wish it was longer, personally.
Yes. I think it should
Um,
have been longer.
I
I
think we
actually
missed out a lot on kind of getting to know Elwyn a little bit better. I really would have liked to have had more time with him, personally.
yeah. I would like to be young Clive. Again, just
Yeah.
after he became a bearer and everything of that nature, I actually
Oh
want to
yeah.
learn what happened in between that time frame. Like I want to know his side missions and everything of that nature. I think that's like a really missed point. I mean, you don't really need it, but it'll be more to add flesh to it, especially when you're playing with that little small party at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they made it seem like you guys been through a lot of shit with each other or whatever
Mhm.
the case may be. So um I don't know. I wish that was a thing, but I actually do love the prologue a lot. Like the prologue was really cool. I think it set up the world pretty good. Um, I like the Ifrit fight, the Ifrit and
Yeah.
the Phoenix fight. That shit, I'm a sucker for kaiju or Godzilla type monsters. So when
Yeah.
I was just playing this game and they were just doing that shit, to me the Garuda fight was like really fucking good. But there's
Well,
one fight
they
that kind of beats it so far, in my opinion. Um, I don't
yeah.
think you got to that part yet, but yeah,
Well, they got me with the Phoenix fight because they told us in the marketing for the game that Joshua dies early in the game, and
yeah,
that was like the whole crux of Clive's entire journey to start. And I kind of thought I was expecting him to go out like a bitch, like just get stabbed or something like by one of the soldiers. And no, dude, he goes out fucking like super heroically at the in the prologue, and like he's like legitimately trying to save everybody and like defend people and stop Ifrit from like destroying fucking everything. And this is like a fucking kid who's like literally like, I don't want to be a dominant. I literally don't want to be a dominant. Like he's
yeah,
telling his father that, he's telling his brother that, like he like doesn't want this power that he has, but he has to wield it, unfortunately. And he fucking transforms for the first time and like nearly fights off another icon in his first fucking battle doing it. Um, and then the brutality though of his quote death, um, and that whole thing was, yeah, it was pretty. I thought it was like pretty brutal the way they showed it. They're definitely not shying away from brutality in this game for sure. The level of just destruction that icon battles kind of create, I would never want to go to fucking a battlefield when I know these things are about to throw down, right next to me. Cause yeah, you're just gonna get fucking tossed.
yeah. No, I agree. That's all. That was another point I was going to make. I think the icon battles, not only did they show you like how epic they are or whatever, but they also showed you how destructive they are, especially the Titan and
Yes.
Shiva fight.
Shiva. Yeah.
Uh, that fight, I was just like, what the? Why would you want
It
to be on the
destroyed the entire
battlefield?
landscape, dude. It's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
it's a destructive like last minute thing that you have to do, and they actually like say that in later parts of the story. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't want to bring out a fucking dominant, right then and there. They're like, we have a dominant. He's like, yeah, but do you want to destroy the land in the battle or whatever in the process? So, um, I actually do like how they showed that because I think a lot of this game, I see if you work with me here. This game reminds me a lot of Naruto, like the dominants are the
Yeah.
Jinkiri or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely the tail beast for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, like each one though, I think they did a better job in this game than Naruto because like it was like having a nuke. Like each village needed to have their own
Yeah.
tailed beast or whatever.
Yeah.
But you never really saw a destruction. You only saw a destruction like the nine tails beast. Everybody else was like kind of like mild or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas this game, like almost every dominant you see, the landmass is fucked up. Like people die or whatever the case may be. I think the only fight they spaced out was the Garuda fight where like no one was really around them. But even
I
that
know, but even that
landmass,
one, they fucking
yeah,
dude, that whole area got wrecked, dude. And when you go back to Phoenix Gate, the fucking impact crater
yeah,
that Ifrit left there is insane, dude. Like Jesus, it was literally like a nuke went off. Like
yeah. And I think that's what they were trying to like. like
convey. Yeah,
illustrate that like these are nukes that we have. Like each
yeah,
superpower has a fucking nuke or whatever. I also like the twist with the mother crystals.
yeah.
Um, so far, I don't know if that's the ultimate twist,
The
but
end game. Yeah,
yeah, the end game. But I do like that Sid kind of figured out like, hey, these mother crystals are maybe sucking the life out of everything, and that's why the blight is happening. At
yeah.
least that's how I understood it.
I
So,
hope they go into that more though, because he throws it out in passing almost like very casually, and Clive and Jill just like accept his explanation without very much evidence.
mhm.
And I will say, I don't know if this was deliberate or not, but after the time jump, there I did look at the map, and you can see the advancement of the blight over the 5 years on the world map.
Yeah,
And interestingly, the Holy Empire doesn't seem to have been encroached on very much at all, if at all, by the blight, whereas all the other nations have been, definitely the blight is like coming down towards them,
yeah.
a little bit more. So that is an interesting thing. I don't again, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but and obviously I haven't gone deep enough into the time skip to see, if things have what the state of the empire really is, the Holy Empire.
So where
Um
exactly are you in the time skip?
I just went to Martha's and fought the Black Shields. I think that's
Okay.
literally where I stopped.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just getting into it then.
Yeah, I haven't done very much at all
Yeah.
there. So but I think the whole section with Garuda though, I like when you get to Stillwind, from the moment you get to Stillwind until the end of that icon fight, I think that's probably my favorite section of the game so far. Um I really like that whole period of the game. Honestly, like I thought it was really well done. I think the fights in there are really cool. I love how hard the fights are in that section, because you don't have your icon powers at that stage of the game. Like Clive
Yeah.
can't transform. You have to fight Garuda as a dude. Like he just 1v1s an icon. It is pretty insane actually. Like it was a little psychotic to me, like that he's literally a man just 1v1ing an icon, on top of a fucking castle. But it was cool though. It's a really cool fight. Like it's a super cool fight.
Yeah.
Um, but then the fight against before that, when you fight Benedicta, is that how you say her name? I always forgetting her name.
Yeah, that's how you say
Uh
your name, Benedicta.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you fight her in her primed form was a really cool fight as well. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that
And
fight reminded me of God of War. Like that was like a
yes,
straight up God of War fight to
she
me.
was like a Valkyrie, yeah, dude. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, she was like one of the Valkyries, definitely, for sure. And the icon fight was cool with her too. But I think the one you do later against, what the fuck was that thing called? That weird creature that you fight.
I want to
Um,
call it Ultima.
no, that was the guy. There was that weird creature with the long hair that was like coming over its face. It had a specific name, and I'm forgetting what it was
Oh,
called
yeah,
now.
I know what you're talking. He
But
has 6 arms, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, I know what you're
That
talking
was the
about.
best icon fight so far,
Oh,
because it
yeah.
was, dude,
Well, you know
that
what?
one was
There's another
badass.
fight that kind of rivals that fight, and I can't wait for you
Okay,
to get to it. But
okay.
yeah, no, that fight was fucking dope as fuck. Ifrit did the fucking spirit bomb in that fight. I was like,
Yep,
yo.
yep. That shit was cool as hell. Um, yeah, and then I liked, I don't know, there's definitely a lot of hard fights in the game, because when they make you fight Ifrit as just Clive in like the when he's in his head and he unlocks the priming thing for the
Yeah,
priming mechanic. That was actually like, that wasn't that hard of a fight though, weirdly enough, but like
I like the Shadow Clive fight. I think the Shadow
that was
Clive fight
cool.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
That was definitely cool. He learned how to go Super Saiyan in that fight. But yeah, that whole section of Phoenix Gate though, that was what I was talking about earlier. Like I loved that dungeon. That dungeon was so cool, dude. It was so fucking creepy. And I like how mysterious it is. Like it's, the characters are like so creeped out by it, they don't even want to think about what the fuck they're seeing right now.
Yeah.
They can't even like really fathom what that is. So I mean, I think it's obvious though that the game the fallen ruins are going to become really important later in the game, and I think the blight is the ultimate like thing they need to solve at the end of the day. Whatever form that takes, like trying to renew the land in some way.
Yeah.
Because it's encroaching so fast that it's like they probably realistically have like 20 or 30 years as a civilization before everything's the blight, you know, and nothing can grow anymore. So, um,
Yeah, and I kind of like that, and I like how too like once you get further past like the Martha quest and everything like that, you're gonna have a well. Did you meet the lady at the table that kind of tells you the state of the world, and then
yes,
she
that's
start
yeah, that was that mechanic I was talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
where she
so
shows you like the fucking movements of all the armies and everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
I actually like that a lot. It doesn't really affect your story, but it shows you like where everything is. And I guess it does
yeah,
affect your story because you take advantage of certain movements like later on
yes,
after that. You take advantage of certain movements that characters do, like, oh, well, since this person's right here, then you can do this, and this is why, there aren't that many soldiers over here now, or whatever. It's like it's not like a convenience thing. It's not like a story like convenience thing. It's like this is why we're doing this and we're taking advantage of that situation. Or when you do
yeah,
something, it affects the story to where other people can take advantage of it, and that's why they're fighting. And the world actually reacts off of what you just did.
yeah.
Um and I think that's really cool, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, I think this game can have a ton of spin-off potential. I would like to
Mm,
actually fight in some of those wars, like maybe
yeah.
in a tactics game or something like that on the side. Like, I don't know, I want to fight in those type of wars and see what happens and stuff like
You
that.
want a Final Fantasy 16 too?
Yes, or just like a side game, or
Okay.
even, you know what, even the Final Fantasy Dynasty Warriors type game or whatever. I just really want to
Oh,
fight in those.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's plenty of potential for that. Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really into like the
Final
political
Fantasy Warriors.
yeah, Final Fantasy
There you go.
Warriors
There's
or
your name.
whatever. But yeah, I'm early into like the political intrigue in the game. I think it's not like super deep, but it's like easy enough to follow and everything. And uh I think the characters are just really super interesting.
Hmm.
Both bases. I really hate that, you know, Sid had to go out, but it's just like
Yeah, man. I
it
knew it
was
was coming though. God damn it.
I,
I'm walking up to that dragon and I'm like, you know that giant runway like going into the mother crystal, and I'm
yeah.
like, man, somebody's dying here, bro. And I was like, it ain't gonna be Jill. Like, who else is it gonna be? And then yeah, it fucking happened. I was like, fuck, man, because yeah, I really like Sid. I like genuinely miss his presence already.
Yeah,
It's changed the
exactly.
tone of the story a lot because he was kind of the, I don't want to say the comedic relief, but he lightened the mood, I guess.
Yeah.
He kind of took the piss out of whatever they were doing. You know, he was not super serious all the time. He tried to see the fun in whatever the fuck was happening.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I appreciated that mentality because Clive's not that guy, you know. So
Which is
yeah,
interesting because I think he's gonna be he does kind of become that guy.
yeah,
But like, yeah, like you can't replace fucking Sid, unfortunately.
yeah.
And then you meet another character who is just as lively as him, that I like, and I kind of, maybe I missed it. But yeah, like I didn't really see that character until now, but it doesn't affect the story. It was kind of weird how the character came in, but
Mhm.
once you get there, it's like literally like maybe an hour after where you're at, the character is going to introduce. But I don't know, like I don't know, man. Like, I mean, it's not too much spoilers I can say, but it's just like,
Well, I have a question, couple questions for you, layered
okay.
questions. So, when the prologue was over, did you think Joshua was dead? And if you did, how long did it take you to figure out the hooded guy was him?
I kind of knew it. So, all right. What I don't get in the prologue is the hooded guy. Is it him from the future?
Yeah, that was the thing that throws you off, right? Is I think there's some time there's either some time like shenanigans going on, or whatever those creatures are that speak to Clive in that weird language that they speak to, whatever Ultima is.
Yeah.
um they maybe were showing him something to lead him on a specific path, like trying to manipulate him, into doing certain things.
Yeah, because I kind of figured it was him. Like the hooded guy was Joshua, but I mean, so far, even where I'm at, I didn't get any kind of hint that he can do time travel.
Right.
But he actually has like a lot of power. He actually like obviously you saw it when you fought the fucking dragon and then you fought Ultima and then his fucking that beast or that 6 armed beast that he knows some kind of knowledge and he learned something um as the Phoenix. So I don't know, man. Like I thought it was
Well,
very interesting though.
I
Yeah,
hope we learn we need to learn more about his direct aftermath of the, that fight between him and Ifrit, because I mean he was
yeah.
still a kid at that point, right? Like he's still like whatever he was, an 8, 9 year old. So like what led him down the path that he's on now in the future, because um like yeah, he's clearly knows a lot of things that no one else does. He knows about the I think he knows a lot about the fabric of the world, like the real fabric of the world, like how things actually work,
Hmm.
in a way that most other people don't. Sid seemed to know some shit too, um, which was interesting. Like he recognized Ultima, which was certainly interesting. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping we get a little bit more about that, as like how he ended up where he was, because and who that girl is that is like his attendant. Um, because I didn't figure it out right away. It took me until I think after like the Garuda fight, I started to really think about it, and I was like, you know, everybody sees this guy like he's a real person. He was clearly real, like he was captured. He's not just a figment of Clive's imagination necessarily.
Yeah, I thought that
um
too until somebody said like, "Oh, I saw him run over there too," or something like that. Somebody
right. Well,
pointed the
I mean,
guy
then
out.
Benedicta had a whole conversation with him, in a cutscene, so it
Oh
was
yeah,
like
that's true. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
starting to think about it, and I'm like, okay, he's clearly a real person. He fought some dudes, he wields fire, and it's like, who else would this be other than Joshua? Like, is there really a third dominant of fire? Like, that just seems so unlikely to me, based on the way they describe things in the state of the world. Is that most elements only have one dominant, generally
yeah,
speaking. So a second one being there is really rare. So there being a third seems even rarer, and that a whole person popped up in the 13 years in the interim that was born, grew up, unlocked their powers, and was somewhat of an adult, like that seemed really unlikely. So I,
yeah.
I
I
did
guess
eventually put it together, but yeah.
I think my biggest thing is why did he? First of all, yeah, is there some kind of time travel mechanic? And did he need like was it like a fucking Attack on Titan thing where he's like, I have to go back and do this because if I don't, then these events won't happen. It
Events
was like
won't
a
happen. Maybe.
yeah, it was
It's
like an Aaron
possible.
moment where he's like Aaron's like, I have to like kill
Yeah.
certain people in my village
I
so
need to
that
I need to kill myself, or pretend to kill myself to, make my brother go crazy. Well, that's
yeah.
the other part that I find weird, is clearly he was protective of Clive at the end of the, act 1, but he didn't stick around. He left, like he and he's not shown himself to Clive since. So like why is that? Why does he seem so reluctant to like actually talk to his brother, he must know some shit that the two of them being together is probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it
for
would like kill Clive's motivation or something like that,
one
maybe.
reason or another. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Who knows? So I do find that interesting as well. But
One character
um
that I hate, but I think they do a good job. It's like a good hate is Annabella. She doesn't have that much screen time, but I fucking hate her. Like
man, I'm hoping they resolve that though. Like, cause we've not seen her since the prologue, or at least I haven't yet.
yeah.
And like, yeah, fuck that bitch, man. Like what was the point of murdering her whole family? Like, I don't really like, I understand she was installed as the Duchess of the province of the Royal Empire, Rosaria, but Like, was that her whole purpose? Like, because the game lore entry for her says that she viewed her viewed her son, her husband is weak and her son's is weak, and she wanted to be with like the dominant empire, the dominant side of the conflict. um so I don't really understand her motivation necessarily. I feel like I need that a little bit more fleshed out, so I'm hoping we get more of that.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, fuck her though. Like when she shows up after everything happens and she's like on a whim, like, oh, you know what? Don't kill Clive. Make him a slave. It's like, and then she has those guys murder her fucking handmaids. Like, who is this bitch? Like, Jesus.
Yeah,
um,
she's just unnecessarily evil for no reason.
yeah.
It was like Cersei's, but like I don't know, Cersei's had a little bit more depth to her than
Hmm.
Annabella. But I can definitely tell that they wanted Annabella to be Cersei's.
Yeah. What
Or
do
am
you
I
think
saying her
about
name right? Yeah.
yeah, what do you think about all the like sexuality in the game? It's kind of interesting.
You know what? I know what part you're talking about, and after that, there really isn't too much after that.
There's like
That's
two or three of them.
really I only
Early in the
knew
game,
one.
Annabelle tries to seduce Elwyn the night before they go to Phoenix Gate.
Yeah,
Doesn't succeed, and then Benedicta and Hugo have their little hot moment, before he fights Shiva. And then there was the other time with Benedicta when she was with the king of Waloed.
yeah. There
I
you go. Yeah, I forgot
believe
about that
that
scene.
was
Yep.
probably the most um explicit moment, I guess. But it's interesting that that they are showing so much of that. I mean, obviously there's not like sex or anything actually happening in the game, but there's a lot of like naked there's some naked encounters and some straddling and things like that. So it is interesting that the game is showing a lot of that, because video games tend to shy away from that stuff. Like The Last of Us Part 2 is really the only other game I can think of that uses sex within a narrative way,
Yeah,
story at all.
I don't mind it because they don't actually show the act of one. They're either showing like the aftermath, like they're laying down talking or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Hmm.
I actually don't like sex scenes, so it's just like whatever.
Same.
So I'm glad
I think it's
they kind of
fine. It's been tasteful,
yeah,
not
it
over the
hasn't
top.
been yeah. So I actually don't mind it. I actually think the themes though, like there's like sometimes you gotta talk to prostitutes
Yeah.
and everything, like go to
True.
brothels and everything like that to get certain
Yeah.
information. Um
Oh yeah, I love the scene when they're in the Capitol and they're in the brothel, and Sid's like talking and Jill's just looking at him while a woman's in like across the hallway, like fucking moaning, and she's just like giving him a look, like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Um, shit was funny as hell.
Yeah, so I thought that was like I said, I like the themes, and I like how like yeah, it's weird to say I like the violence in the game. Like
Mhm.
usually in Final Fantasy games or in JRPG games, there's an implication of violence or implication of someone dying. It's very rare when someone directly dies or something like that. Like when enemies die, like they kind of disappear off the screen or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But like even in cutscenes, you're seeing people's heads get cut off and
Yeah.
sliced open and everything like that. People are actually dying. There's
Oh yeah.
blood. Like even when you're playing a game, like Clive has blood on his face from the last battle
Well,
or
dude,
whatever.
fucking Elwyn gets beheaded and his blood gets all over Joshua when he was a kid. Like
Yeah,
that shit.
exactly.
It's fucking grotesque.
So yeah, this world is very brutal. And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. I appreciate that they're not holding hands. And I don't know when yeah, the world being a gloom and doom world is very weird to me, especially if you're a Final Fantasy fan. Because I think seven is a doom and gloom world. Uh, I
Definitely.
definitely think 10 is a gloom and doom world.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. They have a giant whale monster called Sin that like destroys everything. Like, it's fucking Jesus.
yeah, and then the earlier titles of Final Fantasy. This is what I like about this game. It actually goes back to the earlier Final Fantasies, like 1 through 5 or 1 through 6, where it's like the medieval side of Final Fantasy. And
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, that world's pretty brutal and doom and gloom in those worlds as well. And I actually like that they went back to that style. like of that, of storytelling and things of that nature. So I mean, obviously Final Fantasy 14, the world's not a doom and gloom world. That's actually like a shonen show. Like the Warrior Light's a fucking shonen hero.
Um,
Well, I guess in
I
certain
don't. I
stories.
wouldn't say it's doom and gloom. I, I it's kind of weird because they're like Endwalker was really doom and gloom. It was dark. So, I mean, yeah, it gets there at times. It's
Yeah,
not always like
you
that
gotta
though.
build up to that though. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Um
It didn't start that way. Certainly,
yeah,
there were
it didn't start that
Reborn.
way. So
Yeah.
um I don't know. Another thing, like with Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy 14, like you see the major battles in 14 happen on like cutscenes, like really good cutscenes. But they rarely tell you how they affect the world. In my opinion, it almost seems like they're two separate things happening. If that makes any sense. Whereas in
Hmm.
14, in 16, like there's direct correlation to what's going on and then how it's affecting you and the world around you. I already said that, but like I just really wanted to harp on that point because I think that's like really cool. Um, I don't know. It's just it gives me like almost a Mass Effect type moment with the game, um, and everything of that nature. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just my opinion.
Um, One more question: did you think Benedicta would die as early as she did? I thought it was. I was really surprised that she
I
was actually dead.
Yes. The reason I said that is because I played the demo. So
Oh,
uh
oh
the
shit.
demo actually has two sections to it. The prologue, which you can import your save, and then there's another section you unlock, and you have three uh, icons with you, or icons with you rather,
Mhm.
and you have to fight Benedict at the end of that fight. And they actually showed a cutscene of you taking her power,
Oh
which
shit.
I don't think they should have done that
Well, she
in the
wasn't dead
demo.
though at that point.
Yeah, she wasn't dead, but I figured like once her icon or her
Damn, that's a
power was
big
gone.
spoiler though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Glad
exactly.
I didn't play the demo.
Yeah. Uh, so I figured she probably was gonna die, or when she got back to the kingdom of Wolud or whatever, he was gonna be
Mhm.
like, "I have no use for you," and then she's gonna get killed. you know?
She was
Uh,
freaking out about that. Yeah.
yeah. I actually would like to see that play out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wish you was further because there's one part I have questions on when that happened, and I can't tell you because uh yeah, you're not there yet. You're like right there on the cusp of it, but I
I
can't.
mean,
I don't
I'm
want to tell you.
assuming my next icon fight is Titan. That's my assumption.
I'm not gonna say anything, but
Okay. I
I'm
mean,
I'm just wait.
I mean, he's obviously set up as the initial villain of this second act. You know, like the first main villain because he destroys the original hideout. He
Yeah.
thinks
So
Sid
it,
killed Benedicta.
okay. So you did. I can't. I keep getting that part confused on when it happened. So
Yeah, it happens
um
right before the time skip. It's literally the thing. I think it's like literally the last thing you see before they skip time.
yeah.
Is him transforming into Titan and destroying their old hideaway.
So it's something that happens later on, or um yeah, when you eventually fight the Titan. I'm just gonna say when you eventually fight him, and I'm not telling you when you fight him.
I
When
mean,
you
yeah,
eventually fight the
I know
Titan.
you're gonna fight him. Like
Yeah.
you're more than likely going to fight every single icon
Yeah.
in this game world. So
Uh.
because
So
there's enough spaces on the ability tree for 7 of them, I think. So
yeah.
yeah, you're probably gonna get all their powers at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just one part that I'm like super confused on because the head in the box. I'm assuming that was Benedicta's head in the box, and the person said that
Yeah,
Sid
that's
sent it.
fucked up, man. If Sid did that though, Jesus
That's what I'm
Christ,
saying.
man.
That's
Like,
so out of
holy, that
character for
seems
like any.
not. I think somebody set that up. There's no way he did that, dude. Like that feels like a setup. Like somebody took that body, beheaded it, and then sent it to Hugo with the explicit intent of sending him on a rage against Sid.
Yeah, and that's why I want you to get it further because Clive said some things that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know if yeah, it's just.
Hmm.
And then, like now the game's just going forward. And like no one's like talking about what just happened. I'm just like,
Hmm.
to me, that's a plot hole unless it's gonna reveal itself later. Uh But yeah, I don't know. It was very out of character for what happened in
Yeah.
that particular part, and Benedicta's head being cut off and everything like that. A lot of things were just like very out of character, and I'm just like, this is kind of weird. Like, because
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but Hugo hasn't done anything to them directly yet, right? Like,
No, at this point, he destroyed the hideaway.
I mean,
He killed.
before the head arrived at
No,
his doorstep.
no,
Yeah. Okay.
he hadn't done anything overtly antagonistic. I don't even think he knew. I mean, he knew who Sid was, but I don't think he knew where they were or even cared. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm
um,
very interested to see when you get to that part. So
okay.
I'll talk to you about it next week.
What's your favorite part of the game so far?
Oh, so far it was fighting the 6 arm dude. That was my favorite part of the game.
That was a really cool
Uh,
battle.
yeah.
That whole mission was really cool. Going through the mines and shit, and then dude, the mother crystal chamber was fucking gorgeous. Oh my god.
Well, actually, you know what? I take that back. There's a couple of parts later on that I can't say that are my favorite parts, especially with Jill. Um, I think she's a
Mhm.
really cool character.
Yeah.
That aspect, and then
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Um that's the only issue I have though. I was thinking about Phoenix Gate because I really like that area, but I will say the game I just wish the game did a better job of rewarding you for exploring it all because it's just like you go from chamber like that whole section of the game is just chamber to chamber to chamber and there's very little like deviation from that. It's like pretty much a straight line essentially. But I kind of wish it was a little bit more fleshed out and there was actually some like chests and useful shit to find in those chests. Um cuz yeah, I really like that area a lot, but it was over too quickly for me, I guess is what I'm saying. Um
It was an actual dungeon, so
Yeah, it was. And it was cool. Well, that was the other thing that was interesting because Jill pauses the question when they're going through there, like they're fighting all these automatons or whatever,
mhm.
and which that shit is interesting too. But would like Joshua as a kid have had to have fought all these fucking things,
He said
like
no. He
yeah,
said,
and
I
I think he
think
was just making an assumption, dude. I think he actually would have had to fight all that shit. Like, I kind of think that's the intent. It's like a coming of age like trial. And nobody knows because no one goes in with the fucking goes in with the dominant. So.
but yeah, is it just for that Phoenix Dominant? Or is that like yeah,
Yes.
Phoenix Gate. It is
Yeah,
Phoenix
that was
Gate.
specifically for Phoenix. Yeah, so I don't know. Do the other ones have something similar?
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I wonder. I wonder do they have to do something like
yeah.
crazy or something
does
like
it
that? Or do they
does it
just
unlock their power in some way, or is it like just a test? If they die, they die, and that's the end of it.
because it
Because yeah, he
seems
was like
like
he's like
the
we would have had
Phoenix
to
is
just pray and hope he came out. It's
yeah.
like
It
uh,
seems like the Phoenix is probably the most OP one so far. I don't know. The Titan's pretty fucking powerful. And the
yeah,
Bahamut and Odin, they're fucking crazy
yeah,
too.
Bahamut. I mean, Bahamut's Bahamut, dude. Odin seemed pretty badass too, for
Yeah,
sure. But Garuda seems like one of the weaker ones, actually.
yeah.
Certainly, she's just not like, oh, she throws wind at you. Oh god, you know. And Shiva seemed decently strong, but like not, I don't know, nothing too crazy with her so far either. But I guess I haven't seen her transform again since the prologue though. So
Yeah, yeah, they kind of underutilize her as far as like being a dominant. But
combat
I guess there's
abilities, yeah.
really, I mean, even in the cutscenes, they kind of underuse her. But I don't understand why they're doing it. But yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I do want to take it back. Like, my favorite part is the Titan fight. That Titan fight is that's a good ass fight. That's a very anime fight.
Is it
Between
also
Ifrit
like
and
God of
Titan.
War? Because you remember when you fight Gaia in
Yeah,
I think it was
it's
God
it's
of War
it's very
two.
old school God of War. It's
Yeah,
very old school God of War. It's very, and if you play like Metal Gear Revengeance, is like that too. Like going against the fucking Metal Gear and shit like that, and
yeah. Well,
running
yeah, the
up the
gorilla
side.
fight was like that too. It was very God of War too. Also,
Yeah,
yeah, where you're like a little dude fighting this gigantic, horrific monster that's like super powerful.
yeah, yeah. It just it has like I think like three different phases to it, 3 or 4 different phases. So yeah, it's a really cool fight to me though. Like, and that's like when I was like that was like the peak of the game. Then I'm at I mean I'm going back into another peak, I think. But yeah, that fight was just super fucking fun. Like the
The
music
music.
in that
Oh
fight
yeah.
in the fourth half of that, or in the like the third or fourth phase of that fight, whew,
Mhm.
it
Okay.
just picks up, man.
Got me
It's
excited. All right,
yeah.
I need to get. Let's get out of here so I can go play some more. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there for now. I'm sure we'll have more to say next week as we both get deeper in the game. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. If you've played the game, send us your thoughts on the game. I'd definitely be interested to hear what people think of this one. This one's going to be a very divisive game. Obviously, it already is, but I think it'll stay that way probably going forward. So, all right, Montreal, anything else you want to say before we go?
Oh yeah, nope, that's it.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.